Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land, and welcome to DC Fans United. So today we're going to be talking about classic computer games, not really comic book related, but I've been in a gaming mood lately. So I've got two cool guys here, and we're going to be talking about Diablo, among other things. So I've got Ash on Comics. How you doing today, Ash?
I am doing pretty good. You caught me with my mouth while I'm trying to eat my In-N-Out burger that I get every new
Oh.
comic day. I'm trying to keep it on mute, and you called on me, but it's all good. I'm doing great.
I'm good at doing that. I will often put people on the spot unintentionally, so I'm glad my trend continues.
Nice.
Yeah, man, you post those too. Your new comic book day, and you always have a burger with it, and I'm just like, that looks so freaking delicious. And I don't live in California or wherever, so we don't even have In-N-Out.
Oh, dude, I live in Oklahoma. We have it In-N-Out. We just got it a couple of years ago, but we have it In-N-Out.
Well, I live in a very low population density state that has even less people than Oklahoma, unfortunately.
Rhode Island?
No.
I think I know where you live.
Isn't Rhode Island very densely populated?
I don't know. I've never been there. I was just taking a cheap pop shot at Rhode Island.
Nah, I think the whole East Coast is really packed.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we should kick Rhode Island around more. They're just a tiny little state. They can't do anything about it.
Hey, be careful. All right. That's what the UK thought about Ireland, and my people are crazy. I'm just saying.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. You never know. You don't want to bully the little guy. So I didn't introduce you yet, Bob. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. Like I said, getting down on some Terraria.
Yeah, that sounded pretty fun. Did you want to describe it a little bit before we get into D2? Because I hadn't heard about it really before. It sounds kind of cool.
Basically, it's like a old school 2D platformer meets Minecraft. It's like the best way I can really describe it. It's just fun. Like you'd have to really check it out. It's very similar to like Starbound, except where Starbound's more like Super Nintendo graphics. This is closer to like Nintendo level graphics. Still really fun, like regardless.
Yeah. Well, graphics usually aren't my primary concern with a game, especially a strategy game. I don't know if you'd call it a strategy game.
We still need to get around to playing Age of Empires. I'm just saying, and that the last one that came out of that was 3.
A strategy game. I don't.
Okay, so Ash,
You're breaking up a bit.
well, no, more like the he was coming through on the stream.
Oh yeah, it was echoing. I don't know why.
Yes.
I guess yeah, if you're watching the stream muted or whatever.
Please.
But yeah, Age of Empires, absolutely. I would play 2 or 3. That's one of the ones I can actually do multiplayer on because I've got them on Steam.
The funny thing is that the whole reason why I put them back on my computers because you're like, oh, we should play sometime, and we never got around to it.
Yeah, do you play it too, Ash?
Sorry, I have myself on mute here trying to fix the technical difficulties so that I don't have echoing. Is it better?
That's cool. Yeah, I think so.
All right. Sorry about that, anyone who was hearing that. Age of Empires, yeah, I have not played Age of Empires in a long, long time. I kind of grew out of Age of Empires when another game kind of obsoleted it for me. I don't know if you guys ever played Empire Earth.
I was thinking you were going to mention Empire Earth.
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, I'm instead of playing just Empire Earth, I play Age of Empires and Civilization instead of just playing the one that squished them together. But Empire Earth looked awesome. I just, I never got into it. I know it's kind of all in that same genre, though.
Oh, so basically,
you start off as cavemen, essentially. It's like Civilization if it was an RTS, right?
So similar to It's another game. Give me a sec. I gotta check my Steam account real quick so I can tell you the name of it because
Well, a good way to put it, I mean, Empire Earth is just Age of Empires on steroids. Where Age of Empires, you age up through like 4 or 6 epics,
Not yeah, it's like 4. Yeah, the
and
dark.
Empire Earth, you go through, I believe, like 15 epics. You go all the way from the Stone Age, all the way up to the age beyond today.
Yeah,
oh, okay. So it's similar to Rise of Nations. That was the name.
yeah.
Yeah, Rise of Nations was a successor to Empire Earth, and funny that you mention it. That's actually the game that I really now play.
I got it on my Steam. Buddy of mine and I've been known to play it, but I've always, like I said, I never really got too big into it. Thought it was good though. I mean, it wasn't bad. It's just I didn't really get into it.
Gotcha.
I imagine you can really out tech somebody um, quite to the extreme. You know, you could have like actual mech warriors and stuff, and they have, muskets or something like.
It is possible to do that, yeah.
Yeah.
In Rise of Nations, you can't go to the future; it stops in the modern age. But um,
Okay. That's why I
if
like.
you are if you're the first person to reach nuclear weapons in that game, it can be devastating because, as you expect, the nuclear weapons are majorly devastating. And just like
Yeah.
Civilization, it creates a doomsday clock. So when you start using them, if you use too many of them, everyone loses. But what happens is no one ever wants to be the guy who fires off the last nuke and kills the planet. So if you're the only one who has nukes, you can use a bunch of them, get the doomsday clock to dribble down to nothing, and then stop. Your opponent's been devastated and he can't really fire back. Otherwise,
Was
the
that
planet.
in Civilization, like the original game, or Civ 2
Uh,
that had the Doomsday Clock? Because I don't think 3 or 4 do.
I don't know. Now you're catching me. I could have sworn Civ had the doomsday clock, at
Maybe
least the
the.
first one, but maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, I never played the first 2, so it very well could have. In 3, there's definitely a drawback to using them. That's when they implemented global warming. So then, like, all the cropland and stuff starts turning into desert and whatnot.
See, don't even get me started on that. I hate when.
Yeah, but if you used a whole, like, hundreds of nukes, it would probably cause some kind of environmental damage.
Oh,
So,
that yeah,
yeah.
that
Well, it has global warming implemented from pollution too, actually.
um,
Once you hit the Industrial Revolution, in Civ, I've only played 3 and 4, but it starts putting out like pollution onto your squares, which makes sense. But then once that builds up to a certain amount, it starts turning like plains into deserts and whatnot.
um, the uh, let's just say I'm full of unpopular opinions when it comes to the whole quote unquote global warming thing because I actually did my research on it. So it's like, but we're not gonna get into that. We're in games.
Yeah,
We're avoiding
that's
it.
just an aspect of Civ.
Yeah.
I definitely like Civilization a lot, though. One of the cool things too in Civilization 4, I really need to play 5 and 6. But anyways, in 4, that's when they implemented religions. So your countries can actually have religions too, and they're unlocked by particular technologies and stuff. So like when you research monotheism, it founds Christianity, for example. When you research polytheism, I think it does Hinduism. Like I think there's like 8 religions maybe, or 10 major ones, and they all are then another level of influence that the different players or countries can have on each other. You can even send out missionaries, right, into their country. So even if you're at war or whatever, you can
But
start influencing their country and even potentially flip cities to your country and stuff. It's pretty cool. So originally you had basically science and culture, and you could use your culture to influence, but now you can use religion and culture both. So it's pretty cool. And then, of course, too, if you have a religion that they don't like, then they hate you and all kinds of stuff. It's just an interesting layer of complexity.
oh yeah, and you're making me want to install 4 now because like I have 3, 4, and 5 on my Steam account. I
Mm.
got it with the because I bought the Beyond Earth pack
Uh-huh.
that had all of them with it.
Yeah.
And like I had that pre-installed on my computer. I got off work the day that finally had hit. Was finally able to play, and I just thank God it was my Friday.
Yeah.
I spent the next 2 days just kind of like I went back to work. They're like, "What do you do over your days off?" Civilization, Beyond Earth. You sound like you're tired. I am.
Yeah. Well, that's, I mean, just one more turn, right? One of those games where you look up and it's 5 in the morning.
Uh-huh. It really is.
But Midnight Cherry is getting after us in the chat.
Yeah.
We got to bring it back, or actually start on talking about Diablo 2. So that's the main reason, too. I wanted to have Ash on because you definitely sound like you know a lot about that game, man.
Well, I don't want to. I'm not like the preeminent expert on the game. I did play quite a bit of it. I used to be a massive Diablo 1. That was really my game. Diablo 1 I played for
Oh.
years. But then Diablo 2 came out, and obviously I love the game. you know, um, and it was a game that I would go back to, like, and stop playing it, and like 3 years later, you could go back and play it again, and it would always feel fresh. It's such a good game in that aspect that it just never grows old. You can go back and obviously you are playing it
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
and it's just it works. It was never a game that relied on graphics. It didn't rely on topical narrative or anything. It was just solid core gameplay, and it's fantastic. Yeah, I just haven't played it in so long, so I think a lot of what I remember is lacking. So calling on my expertise is I have a lot of opinions about the game, but I can't necessarily remember cold hard facts.
I think part of that, though, too, is opinions are very valid because everyone has their own play style. And the game is so well made that none of the classes are like absolute trash. Like, if you really are dedicated, you could probably beat the game with every single character class. It's just some are obviously going to be better for the most part than others.
I can't argue that, but like my biggest problem is like every time I've gotten far in that game, or I should say past the first act, something happens and I'm never able to get any further. Or either that or I get like a new game or something. Because like I came to the like all right, so I played Diablo 2 a little bit back in the day. And mind you, I was a console player. I didn't get into being a PC gamer until like 2014, which is around the time when I got Diablo 2. But at the same time, I had gotten Diablo 3 and spent God knows how many hours on that. Midnight Cherry's probably gonna skin me alive for saying that, but I'm just saying. And when I did play it back in the day, like I was on a buddy of mine's computer, and whenever I'd get past that first section,
Yeah.
and try to move on, his computer would crash. Like the whole game would crash, I should say. But
You guys would kill Endariel and go to Act 2 and it would just crash.
Yeah.
I bet it was a cinematic. You know how there's a cinematic between each act?
Yep. And it's just, I think it was because his disc was really scratched up.
That would do it.
Yep. And
he should have just installed it without cinematics.
Right.
Yeah, that's the small install or whatever. So it just skips cinematics.
Well, like I said, I was playing it on his computer, so I never.
Oh, I know. It's not your fault.
Yeah, and this is, mind you, before I even knew really anything about computers.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, most people just click full install because, I mean, you want to get all the stuff, and the small install might not even let you go on Battle.net, I think, now that I think about it. Which would be fine with me now. I'm just playing single player. Like, I used to almost only play on Battle.net, but you essentially just can get carried through. Like, you just make a character and get rushed. Like, you could have a level 70 character in the first day if you just...
Oh, that's what we did with 3. Got, like, a buddy of mine hosted. got me through all the high level stuff real quick.
Yeah.
And
They just carry you.
uh-huh. And oh, I just did something stupid.
What happened?
Landed on a pressure plate with the explosive right next to me.
That doesn't sound good.
No, it go boom and I go splat.
But like online, what it eventually boiled down to was you get rushed through normal and nightmare, and then you just do bail runs, like hundreds of bail runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually you're level 90 plus, and then you have to try and get equipment. So then you got to start doing like key runs or try and get high runes to trade. And I don't know, I ended up just like magic finding and stuff. I mean, it's pretty fun, but it's kind of just, I don't know, I'm almost enjoying single player more because finding something that isn't absolutely perfect is still really good. Like I found some shaft stop armor, which online I'd probably trade it for some perfect gems or some trash, but like for me is really good armor. It reduces the damage you take by 30%. Like that's so OP in single player.
Oh yeah, no, I bet it is.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty decent. It's unique. It's got like 600 plus defense and reduces your damage and stuff, but it isn't like plus $3 skills, grants teleport, and all this stuff that you'd want for, you'd want an Enigma if you played online probably. So it,
Yeah.
it's fun to me. It's
Well,
obviously a lot more challenging too, but go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say that. Tristan's OMG, I'm so late. But anyway, uh, no, it's the fact that, like I said, I didn't play it enough, and I play a necromancer, and that's one thing I liked about three, was the fact that you could twink stuff between characters because you find something like, let's say you found a set piece that you needed for your demon hunter, right? But you're on like your monk or your satyr, which my satyr was my main.
Oh,
Oh, dude. All right. So one of the things you could do in three that I thought was hilarious was if you got the right combination, you could spam this ability that allowed basically you threw your shield. And so I made the joke, the color scheme for the character and everything after that was all Captain America. She was the female Crusader Captain America.
oh, that's cool.
And I did a lightning build, so stun damage. So I just be throwing the shield and it just be bouncing off of everyone, just stunning all of them and everything. And, oh man, it was fucking hilarious. Then go figure, like 3 years later, that was the flavor of the month build.
Oh yeah, status effect builds are always good in RPGs. Cold damage, like if you can freeze them or stun them or poison them or cause bleeding, like anything that slows them or impairs them is really good. Like I found in D2, I'm using this amulet now. This Atma's amulet or something, Atma from Act 2. But anyways, it's a unique amulet and it gives you like a 5% chance to cast, what is it that the curse that makes them take double damage? Amp damage. So that's pretty badass when you're attacking physical damage and all of a sudden you're doing 200% damage.
Oh,
I know
good.
when I have amp damage on me, I'm very careful because you die so quick.
Oh, so like I said, I'm mainly coming from three with this. One of the things that people would do is do glass cannons with like the monk or the warlock. I think was the main magic cast, and then you had the demon hunter. Or that the demon hunter. I'm trying to remember witch doctor, the wizard. Uh,
Are any of the classes the same as D2? Like, what the heck?
uh, some of them are. I think the barbarian's still the same, and I know they released. Go figure. Like 4 years later, they released a whatchamacallit.
Necro.
Yes, the necro, which is the character I'm actually playing on to now.
Yeah, I've been thinking about starting up D3 again because I just stopped playing D3 on like one of my second or third playthroughs. Like because I always revisit these games periodically, and I was going through D3. I forget what I was playing, and I was like, "Oh, Necro's coming out in a month," and I was like all excited, and I just ended up getting into something else at the time. But I think now enough time passed from Diablo that I feel like I can play it again.
Oh, dude, I'm holding off on playing 3 myself. Like I have it in my room and everything, so I can once I have the extra $15 to get that expansion done. I'm going to be playing as my necromancer. He's going to be my main again. Move aside, female Captain America.
So to answer your question, um, DC, the classes aren't really the same, but they're sort of like reiterations, kind of the way Diablo 2 did it on Diablo 3. Instead of the
Or D2.
magic, yeah, D2 on D1.
Yeah.
Instead of the magic user, they had the sorceress. Instead of the warrior, they made a Templar or the paladin. They made the paladin and the
Yeah.
barbarian, which is kind of like a split off. And then they made the Amazon, which was kind of a spin off of the
Rogue,
rogue.
basically. Yeah.
Same thing in this. They redid the barbarian, and the barbarian in Diablo 3 is similar, but he's not the same. So if you played the barbarian in
Hmm.
Diablo 2, you're not going to have the same exact skills. He'll feel a little bit different, but he'll feel essentially the same character type, but not just a mirror image. Then they did the Crusader, which I can't recall the Crusader too much. And then the Demon
So,
Hunter was kind of a play on the
is,
rogue.
is Barbarian just basically a support class again?
It's been a while. Barbarian was never really my cup of tea,
I mean,
but
all they do is war cries. Like,
I
if you're gonna
remember
be,
I remember Barbarians in Diablo 3 being pretty much ass whoopers.
Hmm.
But it's been a while since I played. I mean, I think I played a Barbarian in like the early days when it launched. But I seem to remember them having, like these whirlwind skills where they could just spin around the map and just
well,
destroy things.
they can do that in Diablo 2 as well. It's just the physical damage is like not gonna cut it in hell difficulty, right?
Well, it depends. Like hell difficulty, kind of, if I remember, always just gimped everything. And you would just roll the dice. You'd come up against the monsters and be like, "Oh, these guys are immune to physical damage. Great." Or you run the next group of monsters. "Oh, these guys are immune to electrical damage."
Yeah.
And so there was always someone going, "Ah, great, I can't do squat against them." You always had to try to make these characters that were really balanced.
Yeah, but it seemed like physical damage just wouldn't. Like, you do a couple hundred damage hitting them physically, or you could do like 30,000 damage electrical or ice or fire or magic. Like Blessed Hammer, compare a paladin doing Blessed Hammer to a whirlwind barbarian, it's tens of thousands of damage difference. It's not even like comparable. And they could be the same level and everything, right?
Well, Diablo. This is where it gets difficult because my memories start conflating all the games.
Oh,
So I'm like, is the barbarian I'm remembering, is that the D2 barbarian or is that the D3 barbarian? Um,
well,
so
Whirlwind is definitely one of the more, I guess you could say, viable builds for Barbarian in D2.
I don't remember. I was never one of those number cruncher guys. There were some people that really got into the game and they would math out all the damage and their skills, builds, and stuff like that. I more just played the game by feel. If
Yeah.
I built my builds and it was like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm really kicking ass, or oh, I feel like I'm really gimped. Um, so I just seem to remember, it's been a long time, like I said, because Barbarian wasn't my cup of tea, even though I play every character because I'm not a one character person. I love to play everything. I seem to remember them being pretty badass, being able to leap across the board. They could wield two double, like two handers at a time.
Yeah.
So your weapon damage was pretty up there. I just don't really know the builds to talk about, like how effective they were at damage. I always felt like they were powerful when I watched, other people I played with.
Yeah. I don't know. I think every character is viable to a certain extent.
Yeah, I really in games like Diablo, I always think just you play what you have fun.
Yeah,
I think Blizzard does a really great job at balancing the classes. You know, that maybe they don't start off that way, but after
yeah.
a few matches, you know,
After like, they're
and
still
that's why.
they're still patching these games. Is a crazy thing. Like Diablo 2 has had 3 patches since I played it last.
Yeah, Diablo. Yeah, like it's amazing that the game is still going strong.
Yeah.
Um, but Diablo 3, to that point, a lot of people have a bad memory of it because of how it launched,
Hmm.
and the first year of that game was kind of sketchy because the auction house was just ruined the game. I mean, there were so many bad things. The game itself, at its core, was still Diablo, and there were still good elements, but it was stained so heavily by these bad things. But you fast forward to today, and years later, they have smoothed out that game so much, in my opinion.
Hmm.
The expansion for it,
Wait, I gotta ask, what was wrong with the auction house? Like, by the time I played it on PC, it was after Resurrection of Evil had come out.
well, the auction house, I think, tarnished the experience. I mean, if you look at Diablo at its heart, what makes Diablo tick? What makes people come back to it? And at its heart, if you really boil it down, it's really it's just a slot machine, right?
Yeah.
It gives you that endorphin rush that pulling
Yeah.
the lever on a slot machine
Oh, I
has.
know it too. I'm not even denying that. Like when you find equipment and stuff, it's such a thrill. Like the game is designed to be addictive. Like what I'm
Exactly.
what I'm
And it,
doing right now too is for the past couple days, I just have been killing Nightmare Mephisto and Bale over and over and over to get equipment for like really advancing in hell difficulty past Act 3.
right, it gets you that endorphin rush, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, praise to the creators. I mean, they made a fun, addicting way
Well,
to video games. But the to answer the question about the auction house, took
mm,
that away. And so
yeah.
instead of playing the game and going, oh, what did I? Oh my gosh, something legendary just dropped. And you get that excitement. You just could spend your hours on the auction house clicking through and scrolling and seeing every possible weapon that there was in the game, like the best rolls on the weapons, and just spending money, and you could just buy whatever you wanted. And it took that
It,
fun element away.
Yeah,
it
and it
made the
boils
game.
down to pay to win.
That's funny. We were making the same point at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like, yeah, basically they made it where you can buy gold X, and then just buy stuff on the auction house. In a nutshell.
With real money too.
I can see it.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, back in the D2 heyday, you could go on to like actual websites and buy perfect gear off of them, but that was still a lot harder and it wasn't sanctioned by Blizzard. Like I never did that, but it
Well,
was still doable. Now, with that auction house, that's just so ridiculous.
Well, they got rid of it.
Yeah,
it
which is a
you
good
know,
thing. And
and
plus,
honestly,
too,
I came back to the game later, and I had
uh-huh.
totally forgotten that the auction house was gone. I never hated the game because of the auction house, but I could tell it was putting a damper on it. I was never a Diablo 3 hater. So I came back, years later, and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna revisit Diablo 3," and I had totally forgotten the auction house was gone. Totally wasn't paying attention to any of the changes. Started playing the game, and I just found myself going, "Wow, I don't remember the game being this amazing." And I was having the same fun like when I would go back to my Diablo 2 back in the days. And then I started realizing, oh yeah, there's no auction house. There's no these other things that used to annoy me. It's just a core Diablo experience again.
Well, the other thing too, if people can access the best possible gear, all of the things that are, it's the second best item in the game. Yeah, but it's second best. Just sell to the NPC and buy the best. Like 99% of the stuff that they coded and put in the game is just automatically trash. Even if it's the weapon that you wanted, yeah, but it's only 190% enhanced damage, not 200% enhanced damage. Like Remember there's always a
Right.
range on weapons too. Like to actually roll something that was perfect is nearly impossible. So everyone running around with just like 10-10 perfect gear is ridiculous. You could play D2 for years and have almost perfect gear. I've done it, but it would still never be completely perfect. It would always be like 199% or something. It would never be 200%.
They That's one thing I am happy about with my experience on 3. Like I said, I started playing after Reaper's Souls was already out, and the Crusader class was in and everything, and I just accidentaled everything I need. Like I had my buddy Kuma, who I played with all the time. He was like, I'm you little shit. I've been looking for that piece of armor for the entire since launch, and I haven't been able to find it because he didn't want to use the auction house.
Mm-hmm.
And I just come across it, and it'd be with that when he wasn't in the party, so it'd be only for me.
Yeah. Well, that's the luck of the draw too.
It'd be like, you little shit. How do you find these things when we're not playing? Mm-hmm.
Do you have is Magic Find still a thing?
I do believe it is.
See, I'm all about the Magic Find. Basically, I wear as much Magic Find as I can get away with without dying at all times. Like that's another thing that's really cool about Diablo, and I don't see in many other games is you can increase your chance to find good items.
Oh yeah.
Like that's really crazy and a cool ability. Like just deck yourself out in Magic Find, and you really notice a difference.
Oh yeah, that's true. Like if I remember right, that a good chunk of my armor on my satyr is all magic find actually.
Really
I,
helps.
oh yeah, like uh, I have the set that's the satyr set, or at least chunks of it with but I try to make sure that they all have magic find and whatnot because that makes it to where everything else I find, even if it's going to end up being twinked to another character, it's still worth it.
Oh, that's what's so cruel about single player on D2 is I can't move any of the gear. So I'm finding all this stuff, unique items that it's like, oh, this is literally one of the best assassin weapons. Oh, this is a, you know, +3 to Warcry's amulet or something, but it's on my Amazon, so I just got to sell it to the NPC. Like
Oh yeah.
it's, it's just trash essentially. Oh, a unique two-handed sword. Yeah, garbage. Like I need javelins. I need a shield.
Well, that's one of the reasons I think the game is best enjoyed with friends.
Yeah.
Playing through like together in sort of an isolated experience, like not getting online and trading with all the stuff, just keeping your group isolated. Because not only then do you get excited when you find like, oh, this piece of gear that I can really use, I'm excited. But maybe your buddy's playing sorcerer or something, and you find a really awesome staff, or you realize, oh, this is gear for them, and then you're like, oh, check out what I just found for you, and
Mhm.
you have that experience too, and you constant sharing and building each other up and having that shared experience. I think is what made Diablo for me the game that it is. I think it would be fun if it never had a multiplayer. It'd be okay, but that's why I played Diablo 1 for years. I mean, I was hooked on BattleNet because back then there wasn't social media and stuff, like there is
Mhm.
today.
Mhm.
So BattleNet had its little chat room, and you had different rooms, and you.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, especially sorry, but yeah, back in the day, BattleNet used to have all these different little chat rooms that were like elite ones for different clans and stuff, and you'd be like, "Oh man, I'm in this chat room and with all these guys."
Yeah, you could make your own chat rooms if you wanted, but then they had their list of just generic chat room names.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I just found a room that we all hung out. A certain group hung out in regularly. It wasn't a public room, but it was regulars just always went to that room, so you got to know people. And the games, you had to set up a game. There was no like joining on the fly, so you had to like literally go through and be like, "Hey, you guys all want to play a game together? Yeah, let's do it." And then you start up a game. Um, it was a little bit more work involved to do it, but the people you played with, you got to know. It wasn't like in Diablo 2 later, which made it easier to do multiplayer, but at the same time made it less personal because you would just start up a game and you could have a bunch of randoms join you and then you just played. Whereas Diablo 1, you almost always knew the people you were playing with because you were forming relationships first and then starting games afterwards. And it was phenomenal. I mean, that game experience was. I played, like I said, I played it for years.
Didn't not to detract from Diablo 1, but didn't it have a lot of issues with like duped items and
Oh, that's a great subject. Yeah, I was going to talk about that earlier. That was one of the things that actually ruined um, Diablo for me. The duping, and I got to admit, I got caught up in it myself because I didn't know any better, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. You can dupe stuff. Even worse than duping, where the character you could get these little hack programs that would let you modify your character stats, and so the game
oh
just
wow.
I played around with it because I was like, oh, I can cheat and set all my abilities to these superhuman levels, and it ruined the game. It is like, oh yeah, the whole point of the game is the progression, not the end journey. It's the
Yeah.
journey, not the destination.
Oh no, I completely agree. Like, I'll be the first to admit I was getting frustrated with Terraria, and I was like, because I'm at that weird point where I'm, I guess how do I put it? I'm in the transition where you're starting to get to the lower area, but you don't have any of the lower area gear.
Wait, you're transitioning?
Mm-hmm.
I
You know it.
support you in your decision.
But no,
Throw
you completely derailed it.
derailed. Yes, that was my plan. No, go
But
ahead.
but basically, deeper you get into the underworld, basically, or on underground, the better gear you need.
No, okay.
And I have basically like early game gear. Now I'm starting to finally get that higher level gear. Like I just got me a what's it called? Godly chain knife.
Hmm.
That's helping out a lot because it's allowing me to one shot a lot of like bats and things like that.
Oh, cool.
But I'm not gonna lie, I was half tempted to get me a save editor just so I could get me a decent weapon and whatnot. But I decided against it for that exact reason. It's like, man, that just kill the game for me because it removes what I'm trying to do, which is get
Hmm.
everything legitly and have
That's
fun.
yeah.
It
That's what
takes
I.
away your appreciation. You
Hmm.
find cool things and you're like, nah, it's junk.
Hmm.
That's what
Yeah,
happens.
it devalues everything in the game.
Yeah.
I've never understood the pay to win stuff. Like you play the game to play the game, not just to win. Like if my sole concern with say this run on D2 was to beat the game, I would just try and grind through hell. I wouldn't spend a bunch of time in Nightmare just playing around seeing what kind of gear I could get and stuff. That's not the sole objective. And I
It's one of
think
those playing the game is its own reward.
yeah, you play it because it's fun, not because you can say, well, I beat this game and I beat this game. I never understood that too, where people are like, well, it only had 24 hours of play through or play. It was crappy. And it's like, well, that means you only played it for 24 hours. Like, did you go back and read, there's always a lot to even a shooter or whatever. It's only got 20 hours of gameplay. It's trash. I'm like, well, maybe the campaign was 20 hours. Did you unlock everything? Did you find all the Riddler trophies or whatever? Like,
Now that I can say that was definitely one of the finer points about, for instance, the Arkham games is the fact that you didn't beat the game until you'd gotten everything.
that's the way to do it.
Yeah, but you run into the problem then sometimes of making the game too monotonous. Like it's when your goal is to find every speck of dust in the room, it just becomes too much. And I've seen some games like that where I'm just like, this isn't fun anymore. You have me trying to get all these little cherries that I shouldn't have to find. I mean, the cherries should be exactly that. It should be to heighten the experience, not to extend the experience.
No, I can understand that argument as well, but for like a Batman game, the reason why it works on the Arkham games, is because it's part of the experience. Most of the time, you're collecting them as you're playing through the game, and then once you've pretty much beaten the main storyline, you're finishing up all the side quests and everything. That's when you're finishing up the Riddler trophies and everything. And most of them you're able to get while playing through the storyline anyway. I mean, if you're playing it right.
Sounds like it. Yeah, I've just watched people play it too.
All right. I enjoy it either way, though. Like, to me, that's part of the experience when playing, games like that.
Hmm.
Like, but then again, I'm kind of a completionist, so.
I tend to be that way too. That's part of why I end up playing the same games for years and years.
I'm okay with it if it's like an optional thing. A lot of open world games will do this, where they'll throw in like hidden goodies all over the world for you to try to find and collect. But if you don't collect them, it doesn't stop you from beating the game or having a complete filling experience. It's just more to add on for players who want more to do.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag did an excellent version of this. I don't know if either of you played this game, but um, it was an Assassin's Creed game that melded with pirates, and it was all in the Caribbean, and you had a pirate ship, and you could all the map was a bunch of islands. You could sail your ship from island to island to island.
I
And then
bought the
you
Assassin's Creed franchise on Steam right before that game came out.
okay.
So I was like kicking myself in the ass, like, man, had I just waited, I could have gotten Black Flag too.
Well, Black Flag is the only Assassin's Creed I've ever completed, and I almost 100%ed it. I
Oh,
just
nice.
I couldn't. I could not beat the legendary ships, um, for whatever reason. But I found every little trophy and every little hit. I mean, it sucked me in that much. Where the other Assassin's Creeds, I'd get halfway through and I'd be like, this is the same old, same old. I'm getting bored, and I just would stop. Um, so four is, unfortunately, you guys haven't played it, so it's not going to be a great example. But to me, is a great example of how to do that right, um, to keep players engaged and not just feel like, oh, you're hunting around for nonsense sake.
Oh no, it's still a very good example because of the fact that even if we haven't played it, it's still the fact that it was a game that managed to keep you enthralled, and you're telling us about it. So
Yeah. It's a good endorsement, if nothing else, right?
Yeah, it's a fantastic game for sure.
Funny
So,
was,
speaking of fantastic games, I need to know, because this answer has been dodged, like the pro politician that DCEU is. He's been
Mhm.
dodging this question. Why have you not played Diablo 3?
Oh, I guess a couple of reasons. The main one was, I was really I was gonna get it when it came out, but you were talking about all of the issues with the online auction house, and I didn't really recognize any of the character classes, and it seemed like there was going to be a lot of different things. So what I tend to do is just wait and see the fans' reaction when it comes out, and it wasn't very positive, so I just never came back to it.
Uh,
But I don't know. I would potentially try it out. It's just plus two. I don't branch into new games all that much anymore, so it's not even like gaming isn't even my primary hobby. It's really comics. So when I do play games, it's more of a nostalgia trip or just to relax, like not necessarily learn a whole bunch of new character classes and builds and maps and stuff. It's like, yeah, I could buy a new game or I could just play Diablo 2 or Heroes of Might and Magic 4 or 2 or, Civ 4 or whatever. Like, there's so many games already. I don't
And
know. I just don't expand my roster that much, which is not necessarily a good thing. Like, growth is better than atrophy, but I don't know. Overly long and complex answer to that question, right?
and I was also going to point out you also play, you're also a Magic player. I mean, so am I, but
Not as much as I used to be, because I sold all my cards. I mean, once you sell your dual lands, you kind of don't want to think about Magic. But
oh yeah, I thought stealing. No, no, I sold a lot of them and some of my dual lands, so I know, I'm not happy about it, and I'm looking at, I'm thinking about selling some for extra to basically get me a better mic, because I'm sick and tired of Slick Jimmy being like, "You need a better mic that can handle your Bob Jonesness."
oh yeah, yeah, I love your videos, but I definitely turn the volume way down.
Listen here, DC. If you can't handle the Bob Jones, there's something wrong with you. Because the
I
only way to appreciate Bob Jones is to get a full ear full of deafness.
absolutely, man. If Brian Michael Bendis could listen to it, I think it would help DC Comics a lot.
Uh,
Oh my goodness. We,
This
we
what's
we could do
worse.
a whole show on Brian Michael Bendis.
oh,
We
oh,
we
okay.
could and we will.
I gotta ask, Ash. Have you seen my character? Do you know about the Bob Jones?
I do not.
Oh man.
God, dude. All right, so Bob Jones is a character of mine. All right, and he's very much a Alex Jones parody. Oh, when I get up there and I start talking, one of the things I do is I point out how Brian Michael Bendis is the spy, the assassin, the controller of Cebulski Bot for the evil Reticuloid 9 invasion of Comet.
Nice.
It's true.
It is good, sir. And if you want to get your soy-free comics back, you must side with me against these reticuloid invaders.
That's funny.
It's pretty entertaining if you watch his videos. He usually
I
makes a lot of
did
good
not
points.
did not know you had a channel. I will check you out.
Oh, that's a good reminder too. Everyone listening, now or later, I put these two gentlemen. They both have YouTube channels, and I put links to those in the description box. So check.
Yeah, I would definitely listen to that. That sounds like funny. I like when people. I don't like it for myself, probably because I suck at it, but I like it when other people can do a shtick really well. Um,
Well,
Yeah,
I actually do legit news and political opinion, like news analysis and opinion in that character.
oh, nice. Yeah, no, I dig it when people can do characters and make them funny. Like I used to be. I don't know why I stopped, but I used to be. You were talking about video games.
mhm,
Um, Jim Sterling. You guys familiar with Jim Sterling?
yeah. He's got a huge channel.
Yeah, yeah. He's got a huge channel, and Captain Comics kind of ripped him off with his Colonel Comics. That was it, Colonel Comics.
Oh, is Colonel Comics still around? I haven't seen him in a month
Forever.
or
Yeah,
more.
he's with the whole branched off Comicsgate war campaign group. The
Mm,
Comicsgate's really split into two groups, right? You've got
at
like
least.
the old school Comicsgate that just didn't change, and then you've got the group that just follows EBS and all the creators, and they are
Well,
very very insular. They just only talk amongst themselves.
Well,
So
to
you
an
don't
extent,
really.
to an
I
extent,
think go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to an extent, I'm welcome in that group. I just at the same time, I can say I'm trying to. I know I could get in that group and get a severe boost. I just want to I'll try and do it on my own, on merits of my own material. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, sure, nothing wrong with that. I'm just pointing out that what is right now is this kind of division of the old school comics gate that just is the same as what it was, the last 2 years, and then this
Mhm.
newer group that kind of formed, spring of this year, kind of time, EVS, and like Jawbreakers launched. The whole Jawbreakers launch kind of steered things down this path, and this
One
group now.
thing I think everyone can agree on is there are like different eras in Comicsgate, and the launch of Jawbreakers was the end of one era and the beginning of a new one.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
things changed for the better or worse when that happened.
so yeah, without going down the rabbit hole of discussing what's good or bad, I was just pointing out that so now that we have this situation, that group, which I just kind of call the war campaign,
Oh, you
is
call them that?
well, I don't call them. I mean,
I
I
was
don't
just say
know.
everyone calls them that.
They don't. They call themselves Comicsgate, but they're really kind of not. Like they because they become so insular, and that's my point. Is the reason you don't see like Colonel Comics recently, you don't see a lot of this stuff, is
Hmm.
because unless you are directly involving yourself in that circle, they are not involving themselves in ours. Like they're it's just not a closed group, but
It's
you know
tribalism, pure and simple, through and
it's
through. That's the best way to put it. It is tribalism. It is everyone's got their tribe, and that may not be for the better, but unfortunately, that's what happened. You have, like you said, they clicked up. It basically became like high school all over again. Everyone clicked up and joined whatever group they thought represented them the best. And unfortunately, the war campaign is one of those groups.
well, it's I think it's more complex than that. I think a lot of it is the fact that EVS is so popular, and he formed sort of a secondary movement, which was the anti-Star Wars campaigns.
Oh
And
yeah.
for many months, that's all EVS was doing, and he was getting tens of thousands of viewers. And then when he kind of came back and kind of reaffirmed himself back into Comicsgate, he brought all these people with him
Hmm.
that didn't ever experience Comicsgate. They don't really know what it's about. Then he brought all these pros on board, which also didn't experience what maybe we three have. And to them, Comicsgate is that. That's all they know.
Hmm.
So that's why I believe it's insular, is because they've never bothered to step outside and see, oh, there's more to this. If you talk to certain people in that group, they think it all started with Ethan Van Sciver, which is totally not the case.
Hmm.
And I'm not here to like start up blame, like, oh, point fingers. That's not the case. It just is what it is. And the
Hmm.
question originally was, why don't we see Colonel Comics? And my
Yeah.
opinion is because he's really heavily involved in that group. That's all he's really playing for, is that group. So you don't, unless you go in there, you're not going to see it.
So he is still active then, like on Twitter and YouTube and stuff?
As far as I can tell, I don't really follow him, so
I do, and I haven't seen anything from him in about a month.
okay. Well, maybe he's not. I know for a while that he was. In fact, he was quote unquote leading the war campaign for a while when Roe was on his walkabout.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't even know. Everything's gotten so ridiculous in the past, just increasingly. So like I more or less just post about comics and keep my head down because things are so crazy right now. And you talk about it being tribal, that's because a lot of the people that are in the middle that could have been bridges between different groups, and I think there's a lot more than two groups or factions, there's many factions, but people that could have been bridges between them, like Tim Lim, for instance, are getting cut down left and right. So there's less and less people in the middle, less and less communication, and more of just a he said, she said, look at this screenshot of this conversation kind of a situation. Meanwhile, people like she who shall not be named are over there just loving it, laughing it up, pinning the quote tweets on their wall and saying, look how bad these guys are. So why would I stick my neck out and support anyone right now that's being vocal? I'm trying to keep things vague, but it's just like not a good thing to be associated with right now.
No, I completely understand, and that's what makes it so sad. Is we could. No, I think people lost sight of the big picture. Is the best way to put it.
To say the least.
Like it quickly became all about. I guess you could say. It's why I do give them the credit. They call it for what it is. They do call it the LARPing, and they admit that that's what they're doing. So I'm not going to sit there and say that they're not. And that's what it pretty much boiled down to. They got heavy into their LARPing, and I mean, other than the occasion, like they do cause problems, but at the same time, you know, I think what needs to be remembered by everyone is they're LARPing. That's the big thing. They're LARPing. Don't take it seriously. Like, if you take it seriously, of course you're going to get your feelings hurt. But if you just realize, hey, they're LARPing, you don't have to agree with it, but by just admitting to yourself that, hey, they are doing a shtick instead of worrying about,
Isn't
them
that
doing.
kind of like a basic trolling tactic, though, that anyone could use? Like, let me say this outrageous thing. Oh, why are you mad, bro? I'm just trolling, like, and just rinse and repeat. It's easy. Then you can say anything you want and get away with it.
Oh, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that, like I said, I'm just saying that if you take it too, I guess, too to heart, and not just go, they're just LARPing, they're just playing a character. If the best way to put it is, if you just water off a duck's back, let it go, don't let it bother you. They'll move on to the next person because they know they're not getting under your skin, and they're
Yeah.
having and
Well, there's some truth to that, but there's a lot more to it as well, and that was evident when I don't know if either of you guys paid attention. There was that debate a few weeks ago with Ethan Van Sciver and John
Unranked,
Malin and
unranked
Englandine.
Chevron, and
And,
Engelteam. I
yeah,
watched that whole thing. Absolutely. Go ahead.
and that was not LARPing. That was a serious issue, and unfortunately, Englandine and Engrain Chevron didn't really represent themselves very well. I know what their points were, but I don't think they were very eloquent in expressing their point. And I think EVS didn't take their points very well because he didn't hear really what they were trying to say, and it just became this division, which ended up with EVS walking away from Comicsgate, which lasted a couple of days. Um,
That's the other thing I don't get. You have these very prominent people say, "Well, I'm not part of Comicsgate," but then they still post and do everything exactly the same, and then they're still Comicsgate. Like, why even make that big statement?
well, I think because they're mad and they're emotional and they're like, I don't want anything to do with this. And then once they do it, they realize, oops, I just put my foot in my mouth. The whole reason I just sold $500,000 in comics is because of Comicsgate. You can't walk away from your audience. That
Yeah,
was really stupid of Ethan to do. I think that Ethan was just emotional, and you know what? I'm not judging the guy at all. I have a lot of respect for him, and I'm sure the dude gets tons of harassment and things that we are not privy to from the social justice warrior side. And
we know he
so
did.
I'm sure the guy is fed up, like, so the fact that he puts up with the things that he does, I'm all for. My whole issue was just that I think sometimes these guys get a little bit too caught up in their own agenda, which is to sell comics. And there's nothing wrong with having an agenda to sell comics. The only thing wrong is conflating that agenda with the agenda of Comicsgate, and those are not the same agendas. You got to pick one, right? You either have to be a fan of comics that stands for Comicsgate and says, I believe in established comics that I grew up with and know and love, not being mouthpiece, extreme politics, And I believe that the professionals who work for these companies that I pay a lot of money to, because comic books are more expensive than ever, should act professionally towards me, at least as much as professionalism as the cashier at McDonald's gives me.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
and
like,
Oh, yeah. Do you remember when that was the whole point of everything?
yeah,
Was to get the pros to be professional? Gosh, that feels like ancient history now, doesn't it? I
I
feel like I'm listening to a historical documentary
documentary.
about the freaking Civil War or something when you're talking about the origins back a year ago when we were all essentially united and we're like, all right, these, mainstream comics are not living up to our standards. You're charging a lot of money for them and
Well,
you're treating us like crap. But that's not even, I mean, right now, Gail Simone's just sitting on the sidelines laughing. We, this movement is pretty toast, I think. I hate to say it, but
that's why I've been saying for a while now. Hashtag Team Comics, man. Hashtag Team Comics.
comic,
that doesn't do anything but change the name. And rebranding an idea doesn't change the idea. And this is why I've always been about don't focus on personalities. Comicsgate got caught up in this whole cult of personality nonsense. And I think that I don't want to say that it's its downfall because I don't think Comicsgate has a downfall, but it has been a negative impact. Comicsgate is always and always will be an idea. Now, you can stop supporting that idea or you can continue to support that idea. That idea can be really popular or that idea can be not very popular. But if you focus on that, if you remember, look, I just care about the idea. I don't care about who's in it. I don't care about how many comic books they sold. I just care about the idea, which is the two things that I just mentioned, and I post them on Twitter every Monday to remind people because the SAWs love to lie about what Comicsgate is. And there's another, obviously, the other faction likes to try to pretend Comicsgate has become something else, which it's not. Um, you can't really lose. You know what I'm saying? You may not be victorious. We may not get our way. I see people, and it really kind of disheartens me when I saw Umbrella Guy and Flash abandon Comicsgate, and I was like,
well,
you know,
that's
they're
what
like,
I'm saying. Comicsgate is freaking dead. Like, you might as well rebrand it.
but it's
EVS
not.
left, Yellow Flash left, Tug left, Doug Ernst left, Tim Lim left, Nick.
No, 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 no. Doug Ernst did not leave.
Okay, but I mean, he was always more about a political commentary thing anyway. He's like Ian Miles Chung, where he sometimes weighs in on Comicsgate, but I don't
Doug
know. I love Doug, but
Doug
he's
made a whole video on this, committing
okay.
himself. Like, so I can actually speak on authority about Doug. But regardless, my point is it's not a cult of personality. So even
Captain
though it
Cummings
disheartens me
left,
that
like
Umbrella leaves or uh, Flash leaves, they're just personalities. And for them to say Comicsgate is dead, it's like, no, it's dead to you. You're abandoning an idea, which tells me that you never really supported the idea. If it's more important to win than to support the cause,
Well,
then you're
it's
in it
like,
for the wrong reason. I will be supporting Comicsgate till the day I die, even if we never win, because the idea of the support, the principles that I have, are what is important. Not was I able to win.
go ahead, Bob.
the point I was about to point out was it's funny you say that when you have individuals that have on several occasions, for instance, I'm friends with a lot of the indie guys, all right? And the indie guys have recently come under fire, and it's like, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it's because of the fact that they don't want to uh, pledge their allegiance, if you will, to Comicsgate, and they shouldn't have to. It's like, and I will admit I had my moment where I misspoke, and like basically how do I put it? I accused Cecil of something that Cecil didn't was not doing, and that it was other members within Comicsgate, or not so much other members, but there was more to it than what everyone knows about the whole, cash grab bit and that not happening now and everything. And if you ask me, the whole situation could have been avoided if, one, the infighting would stop. If you have to pledge your allegiance, that like the first things I saw was a dude showed up, was like, all right, I'm here to help Comicsgate. Where do I take my purity test at? Where do I swear my allegiance to? And when that right there really, if you ask me, was a sign when everyone's all like, there's no purity tests, there's no allegiance, we're just guys who loved comics. Like, that right there was what Comicsgate was supposed to be about, was there's no allegiance. You're just a dude that loves. And, you know, when you have people constantly attacking the indie guys, constantly come down on Tim or Nurkish or Sashi, or including the war campaign, we need to stop. Like, I've been guilty of it too. Everyone needs to stop coming down on them, and everyone needs to just, once again, get to working together to fix the problems. We will never fix the problems within comics if we're constantly fighting amongst each other over what we perceive to be issues within comics.
Well, that's a good point. But the other thing, unfortunately, we have to always remember is that Comicsgate is not an organized group. It's not. It is just an idea, and people rally to this idea and they support this idea. But there's no leadership. There's no organization to it. And together, we can stand for something and we can make change. And we have made change, which I'll illustrate in a moment. But what we need to do is, in remembering this individuality and this lack of organization, is that there's going to be people who wave the banner and don't necessarily represent what Comicsgate stands for. And it's unfortunate because it gets in the way and it's an obstacle. But anyone can say Comicsgate, and we have to say, we have to not focus on those people because they're not representing the idea. If you have to focus on the idea at all times. When you start talking about people, then you're weighing your beliefs on the actions of individuals who can fail you. The idea can't fail you. The idea is pure. We want comics to not proselytize extreme politics to us, especially the ones that are existing comics, right? If you want to make up a brand new comic and call it, Super SJW comic, whatever, fine. That's something new. You're not affecting, you're not hijacking something fans have been a part of for decades.
You're not
But
changing the
if
established
you, yeah, if you want to take Spider-Man and say, oh no, Spider-Man is going to transition, he's going to be the first transvestite, or the first trans superhero, and he's going to become a woman. No, no, you don't get to do that. Sorry, you don't own the character.
Sounded
Okay.
like they were just waiting until Stan Lee was out of the way, so to speak, so they could do that. I mean, isn't that why they were all so upset with Stan Lee and besmirching him after he died? Because he wanted to keep Peter Parker the way he originally was?
Well, yeah, they did make that. I don't want to read too much into that. They definitely got offended, but they get offended at everything. And so Stanley made the statement that he never wants to see Peter Parker be gay, and they're like, "Oh, uproar, whatever." But my point is, yeah, you're right. That's what Comicsgate is about.
And it was more about him just wanting to keep the character the way it was created too. It wasn't about being against gay people.
It wasn't about being against gay people. That's right. But
exactly.
The point that they took was the gay part.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, just make a new character and make him gay was all Stan Lee was saying. Don't change my character, just make your own.
You're right.
I think anyone would say, what if he would have been created, you could just flip the whole argument around too. What if he'd been created to be gay and they wanted to make him be straight? Like, it's also arbitrary. Just let the creators have their creations how they created them. Like, it's weird.
Oh yeah. Well, you're right, and I'm supporting this. The problem is they don't see it that way. So getting back to the point though, I'm talking about Comics Geek. Just focus on the idea. Don't worry about focus. Like if you focus on, say, Ethan Van Sciver. Well, what if Ethan Van Sciver has a mental breakdown because he's been doing this for so long and he just has a major blow up and starts doing all this. You've put all of your principles on the actions of another person. You've had another person represent what you stand for. That's not right. You you believe what you believe. And if you believe in the Comicsgate idea, which I believe everyone does, except for the SJWs, then you can't lose. You may not be able to win. It may be a tug of war that's a stalemate, but you can't lose because those ideas aren't wrong. And there's way too many of us that understand this and agree with it. The level to which we're willing to fight for it may be different.
Well, and it's
Yeah.
funny you mentioned that. It's funny you mentioned that because if you want to be technical, and this is going into more cultural bits, I was actually one of the topics I touched on yesterday, news-wise, was how, for instance, the Women's March is disavowed like four of its leading members because of the fact of their blatant anti-Semitism,
Hmm.
and it basically showing that intersectionality, which is the big thing that the SJWs are like cling to, is on its way out. It's in its death throes, and you can see it in the way they act because it. You can only see the end of a moral panic by the way everyone that's trying to perpetuate the moral panic is
You
near
sound
the
like
end.
Sticks.
Well, it's very true. He's got a very valid point.
He always brings that up though to the moral panic and how it's funny that the people who want to influence culture in a particular way, it's often based on a moral panic from how they see it, and it's often too it can be a moral panic even if the morality that they want is actually immoral. It's just what they think is moral. It's all based on their own perceptions.
Well, you're talking about people who will sit there and say morality is subjective and this, that, and the other. I mean, when
Yeah.
you have that type of mentality, a moral panic that's immoral is still, once again, according to them and their ideology that morality is subjective, is still a moral panic. It's
Yeah.
just a corrupted one. One moment.
Sure. Oh boy, we
All right.
went way down the rabbit hole on this one.
I tried not to. I'm sorry. Let's take this detour or this knock at the door as an opportunity to regather our original topic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, good idea. Now, have you played Heroes of Might and Magic at all?
I have played a little bit of it.
Yeah.
That game is not my cup of tea.
Oh, okay. It's really unique, so I think it's something you'd either really like or really.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I could definitely see like, oh yeah, if this was my thing, I would be totally into it. But yeah,
Yeah.
those kind of tactics games, I've tried to get into, and every time I try, I'm just like, it just doesn't grab me.
Is it the turn-based aspect?
Part of me wants to say yes, but I love Civ. Civ is
Oh.
turn based, so
Hmm.
but yeah, probably it is. I mean, I think Civ is just so good that the turn based doesn't bother me. Um,
Yeah.
So we back on games?
Yeah.
Good, good.
Figured that was the way to go.
We get off of our headache-inducing bit. So what game?
we're talking about Heroes of Might and Magic.
Never been a fan.
Oh, really? Yeah. See, Ash isn't into it either. I've always liked the series, though.
Well, the one time I was gonna check it out, what you call it? Ubisoft had it for free.
Hmm.
I was like, all right, but unfortunately, it wouldn't let me download the game and whatnot. So I was like, well, so much for that.
Yeah, Heroes of Might and Magic 2 is free on Good Old Games, I think.
Word.
Yeah, it's old enough now that it's just freeware, which is pretty cool.
I love GOG.
Yeah, they got a lot of good stuff on there.
Dude,
And they use
thanks to them, I have Shadow Warrior 2. And
ooh,
I like the first one. I need to complete it, but man, it was freaking hilarious.
I actually have that too. Let me see. Is it one or two? Shadow. Oh, I had the first one. Yeah, I like how the good old games ones come with the DOS box already set up for you.
Oh yeah, that is. If anyone is into old classic games, GOG, good old games dot GOG.com stands for
Yeah.
good old games, is fantastic. They are DRM free. So all the games, no DRM, to yours. They update all the drivers and stuff. So if it's like an old DOS game, it works for Windows 10. They usually
Yeah.
give you like nice extra stuff, goodies when you buy the game, like posters and not real posters, but like digital artwork and extra goodies. Soundtracks sometime will come with the game. Uh,
Hello, buddy. Hello.
Those old original manuals and stuff and
oh
PDF.
yeah, manuals. That's another one. Um,
The thing I like about it, though, really, the main thing is it comes set up with the DOS box. You don't have to set that up yourself. You just play it, because I have a heck of a time. Even getting Diablo 2, I played in Windows because it kept having issues. Like getting older games to work in Windows 10 can be a bother.
I'm glad I don't have that problem. I'm using 8.1, and 8.1 wasn't too bad,
It's a big
but
improvement over 8.
it really is. It really is. Like, my dad got a laptop with 8, and he was like, we were trying to find the desktop. We were trying to find everything. It's like, who was the crackhead that came up with this idea? Like, what? Is it too hard to realize that on any type of computer you want a desktop?
Yeah, I mean, we've only been using desktops for like 30 years now, and they wanted to make it into a weird app smartphone kind of thing. It had the exact same experience, but you could change it once you got in there, right, to look like Windows.
I do
And then
love.
when 8.1 came out, it was just like back to normal. They just scrapped that whole idea.
Well, a buddy of mine made a valid point about this. He was like, every other Windows operating system, like every odd numbered one is always good. It's the even numbered ones that are generally pains in the ass and overrated pieces of junk.
Yeah, I take it he's not a fan of 98 then.
Uh, I think he said 98 was the only exception.
Ah, okay, because that was kind of the. I mean, for all its problems, it was still kind of the standard.
But
well, when it was on revision C, yeah, 98
True.
started off pretty bad. But the truth is most Windows operating systems start off bad, and
I
then
guess
they either get
90.
fixed or they move on.
Well, that's the thing with 98. It had such a long run. Like, and when I got a computer in the year 2000, I had the option for 98 Gold or Millennium Edition. Like, 98 ran for a long time. XP ran forever too. Actually, that probably had a longer run, huh?
Yeah, XP had the longest.
Actually, XP was probably one of the best. Yeah. I used to use, what was it, a pirated version? It was XP Pro Black. So it had all of the garbage stripped out of it. It was just like Windows XP without all the preloaded things. Oh, it was so nice.
Huh.
no bloatware.
Yes.
Just what you want, not what you don't want. Yes, buddy, I see you. My cat all jumped up on the back of my chair and then being all up in my face. And which is further proof. It just reinforces the tweet I sent out yesterday that being a man owning a male cat is basically you two being assholes to each other out of love.
Speaking of love, I just went to Good Old Games. We were talking about it. They're having a Black Friday sale uh, for tons of games, up to 90% off.
Nice.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh, is there, what good stuff is there? I'm just kind of
See any
going
good
page.
ones?
Um. Oh, let's see. I'll let you know if I see anything that really stands out. I mean, it's hard to tell with without knowing anyone's particular taste, but
Oh, just any that jump out
Mm-mm.
and seem
So,
good.
so, still playing Terraria, right?
Uh-huh.
You get a kick out of this. One of the weapons I got was this yo-yo,
Okay.
and literally you can put it out, and as long as you're holding the button, it will, and it has room to move around. You can have it stay doing damage, like it's staying there.
Really?
Yeah, dude, yo-yos are broken. I didn't even notice that. I just started using it because I was literally like, well, it does more damage than my chain knife. Let me give it a shot. And then I was like, wait a second. Oh,
Isn't there a Nintendo character in Smash Brothers that fights with a yo-yo? Ness, I think is his name.
I don't know. I'm not a big Smash Brothers fan.
I used to play the N64 one a lot. I thought it was fun.
I think I might have that around somewhere, but I
It's like the
grabbed
best.
I grabbed it up years after the fact, mainly because of the fact that it was like, oh, that's a classic anyway. Gonna have to get it. When
Oh yeah.
when I was
Man.
trying to re-get all my games that got jacked by a couple assholes there in Colorado.
Ah man. Those N64 games are often worth a lot. I've known a few guys who've had games get stolen. That's so shitty.
Mm, oh no, it my Dreamcast, my 64, all that.
Oh man.
oh
All
man,
that those old school things are just so cool and valuable and nice to have. That sucks, man.
Oh yeah, dude, it's like this. That's why nowadays, like real talk, it's part of the reason why. And I'll bet at the time I learned how to fight. Because you know what, had I not been such a bitch, they wouldn't have done it.
Mm.
Let's just be honest.
Well, I don't know anything about that. I mean, thieves will steal from anyone if they think they can get away with it. They're just
Yeah, but that's the whole point. If you, I guess you could say, if they know that you will fuck them up, they won't steal from you because it's not worth it at that point.
fair.
But
I don't know. That's shitty though that happened.
oh yeah, no, it was. But like I said, that's and it's sad that you have to be that way. It shows the state of, I guess you could say, our society and what our society has become, and it's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a friend who had a bunch of those N64 games, and certain ones turned up missing, and a lot of them were the really expensive ones. Because you try and buy some of that stuff like Conker's Bad Fur Day or whatever now, and there is just such a collector's market, especially with YouTubers and everything like that want to have that stuff.
That was one of them.
Yeah, see, stuff like that's worth a lot. And it's just so playable too. Ones like that, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, N64 was great. Like, I'm not a big console guy, but that was like the perfect system, I thought.
Well, it was a great system. I still say the perfect system. It is. I'm torn between the original Xbox and the Dreamcast.
oh Dreamcast was pretty nice.
Yeah, I'd say out of those two, definitely Dreamcast is better.
I mean, the Xbox was amazing. The problem was it never got to fully be utilized. It was kind of like a next gen system before anyone was ready for it.
I Same thing with the Dreamcast though. Had the Dreamcast had a DVD player, it would have stomped everything that was out at the time.
Yeah, too bad. Was it Mario or Sonic 06? Isn't that the
No,
infamous trash game?
well, yeah, that's the infamous trash game, but it wasn't from the Dreamcast. That was from the 360.
Oh yeah, I guess that would be too late for Dreamcast. I thought there was a Sonic game on the Dreamcast that
Yeah,
helped kill it.
Sonic, no, Sonic and Sonic Adventures the Sonic Adventures and Sonic Adventures 2 were both very well received,
Oh, okay. So
and I
I'm thinking of the later one then.
and I played Sonic Adventures. I didn't get to play the second one, but I played the first one. It was amazing, and not to mention the Dreamcast had Fantasy Star Online,
Hmm.
and oh my goodness, that game was awesome.
Wonder why, wonder why it didn't do so good. It was just too much competition with was it
Two
GameCube?
words:
Or something?
PlayStation 2.
Yep,
Oh yeah, with the DVD player on there.
yep.
Yeah,
That's
See,
the reason
I
they killed it.
didn't get to participate in the console wars.
yeah. PlayStation 2 killed Dreamcast, and unfortunately, Sega never really did consoles right. They always had solid consoles, but there was always, I mean, starting
Yeah,
with the Sega Master System, which I had, it just, they always felt second best.
they're better at making software than consoles, so maybe they're in a better place now.
Please,
Well,
Sega could release announce the Dreamcast 2 today, and I mentioned this the other day on Twitter actually because Dollar Benz was talking about his love of the Dreamcast and everything in Jet Set Radio, and I pointed out
oh,
how
Jet Set Radio.
yeah I got it on my Steam. I haven't played it though. I haven't never played Jet Set Radio.
Oh, Jet Set Radio 2 is where it's at. But yeah.
But the whole point I made is Sega could announce today that they're going back and making a Dreamcast 2. It'll be backward compatible with all the old Dreamcast games. It'll have internal memory, Blu-ray player, all the bells and whistles and whatnot, and you could watch their stock skyrocket, and everyone would be like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and all the old Dreamcast or all the old Sega fans would be like literally losing their shit at that very moment just because of it.
It's kind of a shame though that the Sonic fandom is like pretty degenerate, right? Like as far as online culture,
Oh no, it's
like if you go on any kind of image boards or anything.
I know it's one of the funniest jokes about Bowsette was a picture of Mario and Bowser looking online to see Bowsette, and Sonic was like, "Please, that's tame."
Right? I don't know what it is about Sonic, but that poor guy.
And what's funny is back in the day, a buddy of mine had this is back when I was in high school and shit. He had a couple of the old Sonic stuff. You know what I mean, like plushies.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I was being a standard high school asshole and was like, oh, look what's going on. They're doing some naughty things. He's like, man, quit fucking with my childhood, la da da, and that was the end of it. And then years later, it's like, oh god, that one throwaway joke people have taken to like a whole new level.
Yeah, a whole new level. Gosh, what was I watching? Those Mr. Medicare videos where he talks about like internet culture, and he was just going through Deviant Art. It was a whole series, and there's like hundreds of thousands of weird Sonic the Hedgehog pictures on Deviant Art. It's very funny but strange. Like you wouldn't see that happening with I don't know, Super Mario or something. Like just
Oh
why Sonic?
no, Rule 34. You know. Rule 34 exists for a reason. All right, I'm just saying.
I mean, maybe Princess Peach, but like Sonic? Like what the hell?
Well, yeah, I agree.
I don't get it. It's
Though
funny though.
I do want to see the new Sonic cartoon because apparently it's pretty on point.
Hmm.
Because it was character basically what is it Eggman is at like this store for mad scientists, and the guy at the counter is like, we do require proof of you being a mad scientist.
Mhm.
I'm going to need to see your mad scientist diploma and this that and the other. And Eggman's all like, last time I was here I just threatened the guy behind the counter and that got me everything done. He's like, yeah, no, that was me. But I'm recently divorced, so I got nothing to lose. So now you're talking to a man with nothing to lose.
That's funny.
Oh yeah, and I was like, oh god, that says a lot about our culture today when that can be a joke that for is appropriate for a kids cartoon. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, not nearly as bad as some of the stuff they put in cartoons.
I still stand by SpongeBob. If I remember right, there was a study that found that SpongeBob in early children, like before the age of like 4 or 5, it actually does cause developmental issues.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's one of those. Think about when we were kids. The cartoons that we watched in the 80s was more designed to teach us morals, things like that. It had
Mm.
a strong moral. I got to go back to uh, the moral panic of the 80s. Made
Yeah,
sure that
especially you watch something like Ninja Turtles from the 80s, it's so G-rated, like moralistic, like
uh huh.
do the right thing. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm glad I grew up with that, but you're absolutely right.
Like, and then you see things like SpongeBob where it's just weird. Like, it's something you'd expect to see a couple skeevy stoners watching, not something for kids. You know what I mean?
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, have you seen that Big Mouth show or heard about it?
I heard about it. I saw the clip that was shared around on Twitter talking about it, and I was
Yeah.
just like,
Mim,
okay.
Mim Hedrum was talking about it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now that's some disturbing stuff. I haven't even watched that show, but dude, what the heck?
Par for the
How is that like illegal? Like, shouldn't that be illegal?
as far as I know, it's probably a gray area. Like that's the only way I can figure they got away with it. And let's be honest, you have this isn't the first time, or I should say that isn't the first time that there was something that Netflix did in this past year that was very borderline along that area. You have the movie that was from like Colombia or something like that, El Salvador, somewhere along there, that showed a 8-year-old girl discovering herself. Let's just say 8, 9-year-old girl discovering herself, something along those areas, and it was very suggestive. It wasn't showing anything, but it was still not something that I feel is appropriate for television. And then you have the whole bit with Big Mouth. You have the orgy in the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina with a bunch of like supposed to be like 16-year-olds involved, and it's just like
Which reminds me of It. Have you read that book?
I haven't read it, but I know the plot and I know the end. But see, the whole thing is when Stephen King did that back, and it was shock value. It, it was very unique, and while I don't necessarily agree with it, it served a narrative purpose. It was the I get to say trying to show the end of childhood going into the end of adolescence going into adulthood.
I mean, that's how he explained it, I think.
And I understand that. Like I said, I don't agree with it. I still think that's a bit much, and it's contributed to a ton of people having an extreme fear of clowns, which I think is hilarious. But whatever. But
Clowns are pretty creepy.
I I guess if ICP can be creepy, yeah, but your standard clowns are just I just look at them like you're not funny, but you're not creepy. You're just kind of I feel bad for you because you get ridiculed on a daily basis. But that's besides the point. Yeah, that's right, Midnight Cherry. Uh, but the whole point that I was making is the fact that, like I said, it's not. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just saying that it was done. Stephen King did do it, and that but it wasn't like Netflix is doing now, where it's had several instances of suggesting that, and then you have the various instances of the, I guess you could say, the far left, and they're pushing for the normalization of it, and I'm not agreeing with that either.
There's a lot of weird stuff going on. You still with us, Ash?
I am still here
Sorry,
listening
sorry,
to you guys tangent.
sorry, dude. Like I said, I do a lot of. My channel is news and politics, so I tend to follow these things kind of a bit.
Well, I have no problem with it, but we probably are off topic quite a bit.
We
Yeah,
are. Let's get
tends to
back
happen.
on topic. Let's get on that topic like a fat kid on a cupcake, man.
So
Cupcake.
I didn't find anything good, unfortunately, in the sale
Really?
for God. I mean, your miles may vary. I think I have everything though that already. That's my problem.
I
Ah,
Things.
know that feeling.
So the things I go, oh, I would want that, or I already have it. Um,
Huh?
but nothing's standing out really. Um, you want to talk about good old games, so man, Star Wars, the original Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Got them both.
Those are two of the best RPGs ever, in my opinion. They are on sale for like three something.
nice.
Um, I think a lot of these old games are just overpriced. I'm like, that's the sale price. That should be the normal price.
Yeah, some of this stuff, I mean, if it's from 20 years ago, it's basically it should be freeware.
Well, see,
You'd
that's,
think.
and the funny thing is that's part of the reason why the out of all the ones you can get on Steam, the Elder Scrolls, I should say, that you can get on Steam, the only one I'm missing is Morrowind, and that's because I like it's every time it goes on sale, there's other games I'd rather spend it on. So I guess we'll continue to use the copy that a buddy of mine gave me, even though I'd rather have it on my Steam.
Well, so do you generally, as far as Age of Empires, do you prefer 2 or 3? Do you care?
I
I
that's the
like
weird thing.
three.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so do I. Like I haven't
Okay.
played much of two. Like I had the first one. That's the one I like. Other than three, it's funny because I played the fuck out of one back in the day and then I played the shit out of three. But two kind and it's two HD no less. So like I have no excuse.
Hmm.
Yeah, two HD right now is on sale on Steam for like $3.99.
Whoa, that's crazy good.
I wonder how
Yeah, it's normally $19.99.
It's normally a lot. And when those, it's got like 5 or 6 expansions. Is that with all the expansion packs though?
No, that's just the base game. You
Oh,
can get the bundle with the expansion packs for nine something.
that's really good because there's like literally like 5 expansions.
Yeah,
well,
normally the bundle's $49.95.
well
Okay.
they just brought out another expansion for it like 2 years ago.
Yeah, the Rise of the Rajas.
Hmm.
I think no, it was after that. There was an East Asian pack that added Vietnam, the Khmer, and the Malaysia, like those guys.
Yep. And let's see.
I guess that was called Rise of the Rajas. It just doesn't, India was already in the game, so.
Yeah. Uh, basically, but here's the thing: each expansion, like if you were to get the base game, it's 20, right?
Mhm.
All three DLCs are $10 each, and it's like, I only got like not even $2 in my PayPal, so I would have gotten one of the African Kingdom expansion at the very least.
Well, they're only like $2 right now.
Yeah, like I said, I got less than $2 in my
Oh,
PayPal right now, so
that's
Well,
one of the
when
cool things I like about Steam is if you already have part of a bundle and like there's other parts like a bundle goes on sale and but you like already have half the games in that bundle, they'll give you a discount on the ones you don't. Like you won't have to buy like anything over again. I think that's really cool.
have you got the expansions for 3?
I don't know. I haven't played three in a long time.
How about you, Bob?
I think I got all the 2 expansions for 3 because they've mainly been expanding for, uh,
2.
yeah.
So you have Asian Dynasties then on
Oh
3.
yeah.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I have Age of Empires 3, the complete collection.
Cool. So, we could all play that sometime.
We
Word.
could.
I like 3. We could all beat up the AI or something simple too.
That's actually what me and my buddy do. We will start a game. Like, the funny thing is buddy of mine came across a copy of 3 and was like, "Huh." Found the uh, key was still good and everything.
Hmm.
It was at one of the back when he was a painter out on post. I guess they didn't have a Steam account or anything, so they never redeemed it,
Oh,
and they left the whole game, discs, everything, the key, all of it. And he was like, "Well, here, I don't have a computer, you do." And I was like, "Oh wait, this is when I Kira doesn't have it, my buddy's wife." So now we were able to get it for her too.
that's cool.
Oh, dude, the rookie, you'll like this. I have the Halo 2 edition of the original Xbox.
Oh, I'm loving that. That's pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, dude, it's fucking
That's
badass.
that's like bragging rights.
Mm. And it was funny because uh, I had to get rid of my original Xbox. Uh, Basically, hard times, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and I had my 360, so I was like, all right, at least I got my 360. I'll be good for now. And when I was working at Game Crazy back in the day, they had a Halo 2 one come through, and I told them straight up. I opened it up, looked at it because you had to check and make sure everything was there and everything for before it went out to be sold. And this came in from corporate. I opened it up, closed it back up. This is mine. They're like, "What is it?" This is a Halo 2 Xbox. Oh, yes. I still have Game Crazy stickers, rookie. I still have plenty of Game Crazy stickers. Hell, give me a sec. Y'all will get a kick out of this because I actually have one of them up on the wall. Let me get more of the wall on in focus while I'm doing this. And come on, camera. I know you're. All right. Duke, look, DC, if you could enlarge me,
I don't know if I can enlarge you.
just click on me.
I did. It should show you.
Okay. All right. So Assassin's Creed, the comic there, and this isn't even all of them.
Oh, I see. Assassin's Creed.
These are the original promo books that came out for the original Assassin's Creed, and
Oh,
like,
cool.
let me set those down. And I'm talking like legit comic books. I'm not sure how many pages it is, but it was something, and they were going to throw them out. They had a
Oh,
grip on.
really?
Yeah.
I'm always amazed at what people will throw away. Like, you can get really cool movie posters and stuff that way sometimes too.
Mm-hmm. All right. Getting rid of the camera now. I just had to show that off.
No, that's cool. That's kind of interesting too. Part of the reason a lot of artists don't seem to go into comics anymore, like mainstream comics, is they can draw stuff like that and gaming art and promos and stuff and make a ton more money.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why grind away at DC or Marvel when you could do a book for whatever, some gaming company, and make much more money?
Oh yeah. But at the same time, like the last time I checked, and this the thing is, I was like, man, watch, 10 years from now, those books are going to be worth a little bit of money. Those books that I got for free that they were going to throw out, if I wanted to, I could sell them right now for like $20, $30,
That's
because
cool.
of how rare they are. I'm giving them out as presents to people that are, you know what I mean? It's like, here you
That's the
go.
way to do it.
This is a rare collectible that you won't find easily, not without spending a nice little penny on it. So you know what I mean. And
Absolutely.
and if it's someone who's a huge like Assassin's Creed fan, they'd be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the right person would
I got
definitely
to
love
see
it.
a little bit of that. Those Assassin's Creed's books. That's another bragging rights.
Pretty cool.
Hmm.
Way to
So
tie
you
in
guys have a
gaming and comics at the same time.
Hmm.
yeah, right? Kind of a good parallel.
All
Well,
right. All right. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the one I have on the wall is actually the one that just got damaged over time. So I was like, put it on the wall. Have it be my display one.
Oh, there you go.
Not worried about it.
Yeah, make the best of a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
I saw you had some alternate comics on there too.
Yes, I
Bravo.
do. Yes. That's not even all my alternate comics. Let me see if I can reach the stack. Gotta get my one controller off of it and my woo, games, my Warcraft battle chest, and my.
Oh, I'll
Uh,
put the camera back on you. There you go.
all right, not a problem. I gotta plug the camera back in. Like,
It's-
shoop. That's not Alterna. That's not Alterna, and that's not Alterna. Oh, that is Alterna. Yep, 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 yep. Okay, is the camera still nope. And all
There you go.
right, Rimshaw number 1, 13, 1 and 2, or I mean the
Oh,
12, 1
cool.
and 2.
Oh, Wicked Righteous. That's what you had on the wall.
Yeah, good book, good book. Mother Russia 2. It was supposed to be 1, but I'm not gonna fault Peter for that. He probably sold out. And what pisses me off, I got this was planned like I can't even read it because this is one of the turncoats that can go to
Uh,
hell,
Ah,
yeah, there was a lot that went down. That's too bad.
right?
Wasn't Amazing Age in the same boat?
yep.
Yep. I was going to get Amazing Age too. I was planning on
Yeah.
Wicked Righteous 2. I already showed off Scrimshaw, so
Yeah,
like
those are the same ones I get. I just need to find a scrimshaw number 4.
nice.
Hmm.
Cannot find it.
And like I also got Mr. Crypt up here. That's and that's because of the fact that and that's a great book. Like I will suggest that to anyone. If you want like that's worth the read because of the fact that it's so
Hmm.
funny, light-hearted. It's what comics should be. It's not all the that's over the top. Like, and it's supposed to be like it's a quote unquote horror. It's not a horror. It's a fun read.
Isn't
Ironically,
that
ironically, the only one I don't get is that one.
Oh, dude, it is awesome. Like, I like how they
isn't
did
that
the.
it came on a Wednesday? Isn't that a horror one?
I
It
do
came out on a Wednesday.
Yes, it's an
believe so.
anthology.
And
Okay.
and like I'm not a horror guy. Never have been. Like I guess you could say like prime example. All right, main screen, second screen. Like my webcam's on my second monitor, all right? Which is actually an actual monitor. This is just a TV. Uh and I'll generally have something playing on this one for me to watch. And like I prefer this just goes to show the type of person I am. I love family movies and things like that.
Oh, sure. Me
And
too.
so like I'll put it on like Disney's and whatnot. Like the other night I rewatched The Nut Job. Love that movie. Like last night I watched a on Netflix. I was watching this Disney Christmas anthology that had like story with Donald and Huey, Dewey, Louie, and whatnot, and then the middle one was like uh remember right, it was like Mickey and Minnie and thing. You get the idea. And it was all Christmas themed. I was a happy man. I'm disappointed because I thought I had Christmas Carol on my hard drive, and that's what I really wanted to watch, the old classic Disney Christmas Carol with
Oh, you got to
like,
get the Muppet Christmas Carol.
oh, that's a good one too. And Muppet Treasure Island. Don't forget Muppet Treasure Island.
Yeah, they're both good. They're definitely, I'd say, the best too, but Christmas Carol is like on another level.
Oh, I
So
believe it.
good. I could just be nostalgic too, because I did watch that in the theater when I was a little kid.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean,
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just it was awesome. It was a good movie.
like, and that's once again things that I swear kids today will never understand, man. Like, it's sad. I got talking to my friends about how, like, for instance, music isn't as awesome as it used to be. Like, it used to be back in the day, we would sit around and like the music that'd be on, we'd be like, yeah, jamming to and whatnot. And
I
then
feel
you,
like this is a conversation all 30 somethings have though. Like we're all in our 30s. Like, man, kids these days, their stuff sucks. Our stuff was awesome. I
and
mean, it's true. It feels like it's true, but isn't this the same thing that everyone else goes through?
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, when we were having this conversation, I was like, I feel I sound like my dad. Oh my god, this is the exact
But
same
it
thing my dad would bitch
but it
about.
seems yeah, it seems true though. Like you're talking about growing up with the movies, like we had just kids movies. You're talking about like The Lion King and stuff, the Aladdin. It was the golden age for kids movies. Toy Story, like I saw the first Toy Story when I was 10 in the theater. What are these kids? I mean, like I don't know. I just
I remember that
the comparison doesn't seem fair to
also.
them.
Also, hush, Tristan.
Oh, I'll have to check the chat. Is she giving us crap?
Oh yeah, this is Tristan. If it wouldn't be her if she wasn't giving us crap. Let's be honest. But nah, it's just the fact that when I came across that though, I was like, oh my god. When I realized it, I was like, oh no, I have to. No! You know what I mean?
I think you might have broken up a little.
It was one of those. The realization made me do the classic
Oh,
calculon. No,
oh, I
you
love
know.
Calculon. He always overacts everything.
That's what I was saying. The overacting. No, but
Now I want to watch Futurama.
got it. That's one of my staples, man. That is one of my staples. Always have that on my hard drive to watch.
That and King of the Hill. I can always go back to those. No? Is it too close to home being in Oklahoma?
In a way, yes. It, okay, it's one of those. Mm, I don't know. I just never really got into it. Like I liked it, but it wasn't. I felt like there was a lot of jokes that it had its good moments. I think that's the best way to put it. It had its good moments. It had its funny moments, but there were jokes that I felt like were missed opportunities because they were trying to keep it too. They tried to keep it from becoming zany. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's kind of what I like about it though, is it's so down to earth. I find that relaxing in a way, but
Oh
yeah, I
yeah,
can see that too.
but like one of my favorite comedies though was Drawn Together. So what does
Oh
that
yeah,
say
that's
about me?
pretty much the opposite.
Oh god, but it was such a smart show. Such a smart show. Like they would touch on subjects like, okay, they would try to make Drawn Together today and it wouldn't work. The NPCs would just get all upset because of the fact that they'd be like, well, that's this, that's that, it's various phobias and whatnot. It's like that was the whole point, was they were trying to show how incredibly silly it was for having these phobias. Like the episode where Xander came out, it was going to come out nice nerd, but the episode where Xander was going to come out to his parents as gay, and he was like, yeah, basically went to his housemates, and he's like, I don't know what to do. I've got to tell him I'm gay. Mom, you want to role play with me? It's like, okay, Mom, Dad, I'm gay. Well, duh. And then they have this big old long ordeal where like he runs away, comes, like ends up in this like prostitution ring and this, that, and the other, and it's just like, oh my god, it's so hilarious. And all happening within the house, of course. You know what I mean? Every one of the cast members playing a different role in this, and then he goes, "Huh, so that's what it'd be like." And then he goes to tell his parents finally that he's gay, and he's all like, he has that moment, and they just go, duh, which is exactly what they said they'd do in the first place.
Yeah, is it that elf character?
The one that's supposed to be a Link knockoff.
Yeah, yeah, and he's super flamboyant and obviously gay.
Uh huh.
And he's always hitting on the Superman parody.
Captain Hero. That.
Yeah, Captain Hero. That show had some highlights. It's just been so long since I've seen it.
Yep, it was a great show, dude. And it was just one of those like it saddens me that that show only got 3 seasons and a movie. Like I think they could have drugged that out for another 2, 3 seasons and given it a couple movies, like a trilogy. Uh
Yeah, maybe. I know Metalocalypse didn't get a fair treatment.
they got 5 seasons, I do believe, but the original
4
plan.
in a movie.
4 in a movie. Okay, I know
Well,
is a plan to have an extra season that would have tied everything up and explained everything, but I guess that's what the
yeah,
movie did.
exactly.
Well,
Well, it wasn't really a movie so much as like a really long musical episode. It's like an hour long.
okay. But I'm not gonna lie, I stopped watching after season 2. Not because I didn't want to, it's just I have to be in the right mood to watch these shows.
Yeah.
And if I'm not in the right mood, then I'm just eh. That's why I'm so far behind on Flash, Arrow, and all the other shows that I actually like to watch.
Me too. I'm ages behind. Like I've watched some of the first seasons of some of those guys. I'm so far behind. But like with the animated stuff, I could see falling off Metalocalypse after season 2 because there was a big, long, like probably multi-year delay between season 2 and season 3, which is what kills me with Venture Brothers. Every season there's a 2-year delay in between. You know, I watched the first few seasons and it's just like, no, I'm not doing this again. Like I'm not going to go back and rewatch everything again.
Oh, I don't blame you. And
Yeah,
like,
I do love that show though, and it's you can tell the people who make it are really big comic book nerds and sci-fi nerds and everything.
well,
Like season 4, every episode like has a CGC, like a comic book score on the top corner, and every episode it degrades. So it starts out at like 10.0 and keeps going down. Just little jokes like that where I thought were great.
oh, it's awesome. And if I remember right, that in canon for the show, it's probably not actual, but it takes place within the Johnny Quest universe.
Yeah, right. Like Johnny Quest is actually in it.
Uh-huh.
What
Like,
what do they call him? Johnny Quest, or is he? It's Johnny something.
it's they can't actually call him Johnny Quest and the what was the name of the kid? The Haji. They couldn't call
Yeah,
Haji and whatnot because, copyright infringement. But they heavily insinuated that they were in the show and everything. Let's see. Wait.
did we lose Ash?
No, well, yeah, I'm not sure. Got reading chat because this is hilarious. And let's
You
see,
still
Midnight.
there, Ash? Are you gone?
Oh,
Hello, the puppy dog.
I don't know, mute.
There he is. I just assume that I'm talking to this black dog because of your profile.
That's my dog.
That's a nice looking puppy.
Yeah, her name's Kuro.
But
Aw.
nice. Real quick, you got to hear this. This is hilarious. See, DC is a 16-year-old Russian bot, sock puppet, catfish. DC is
It's true.
catfishing us all. I'm
I'll
triggered.
disavow it.
Yep.
I'm
Shit.
broadcasting from Moscow right now in the seedy basement in the Kremlin.
Exactly. We are trying to get American capitalists to join us in our fight to take over America from within. But do not worry, comrade. When we do take over America, we just add in communism light, just so we do not get shot by American rifles.
I don't. Now I want to play Red Alert 2 again.
Oh man.
I did love Red Alert. It was a great series, especially in the was it second or third one where they had Tim Curry? I think it was the third one, right?
Third. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was like the
that's
last
one
thing Tim
thing.
Curry was in. That was the last. Oh, dude, why do you got to remind me of Tim Curry, man? You know,
Oh, Tim Curry was in it, and George Takei or
uh-huh.
Takai, however you want to say it. They had
I
a
have that.
bunch of famous people.
I
And
have
that
that
was
game.
and that was before Tim Curry had the stroke. Oh, just
Mm,
that was like his last thing he was able to do. Oh,
press F in the chat to pay respects to Tim Curry.
yes, just oh.
He was in a lot of good movies.
He really was. Like, and don't get me wrong, like his Adams Family movie was the worst one. I don't like it, but at least he tried. You know what I mean? I mean, was it Raul Julia is a hard act to follow because he did a fantastic job.
And we were talking about Muppet Treasure Island. Of course, he was
Uh
in
huh.
that.
Yep. Let's see what else did he do. That
He
Mikhail's
was in he was in Rocky Horror as well. That's
it.
not the primary role I like to think of him in, but he
Yeah,
was.
he was also
You're
in
correct.
it.
He
Uh,
was. He was it. He's played the devil. He's played it. He's played like a cardinal because he was in that freaking Four Musketeers movie, right?
uh huh.
Gosh,
The
he's been in everything. He was in Red Alert 3. Like all the actors who were in Red Alert, like I'll always give them props for that. Just being in like a campy, kind of cheesy real-time strategy game for the computer when you're like a big-time Hollywood actor like that. It's so cool they even did that.
well,
Oh
that,
yeah. Well, Westwood used to get all the big names like for
Yeah.
their games.
Westwood was legit.
no,
And
what drives me nuts is the fact that like George Takei was in it, yes, but
yeah.
I have lost all respect for George Takei because his heavy social justice lunacy. I can't respect him anymore.
Yeah, George Takei reminds me a lot of Bill Maher in the
Mm,
sense that, like, I always knew Bill Maher was a little on the left, and whatever. But in the '90s, he was just, he was what he was, and he was entertaining, and it was no big deal. And then time goes on, and you could just see him just going more and more and more off the deep end, to where like now he's just so far gone. It's like Stanley's dead. I'm gonna attack all comic people. Just like,
Right?
what is wrong with you? Why? How did you go from this guy that I could somewhat respect to this lunatic? And George Takai is kind of the same way. I used to follow him in the early days of Facebook because he made funny posts and stuff. And now all of his posts are just nonstop. Oh, Trump is evil. Am I right? Am I right?
Yeah, like he wants everyone to validate it for him and everything, and he's like, you just can't enjoy it anymore. It's
mm.
like, come
Yeah,
on.
they both used to be entertaining, and now they're both so far. Like, and both of them, I got to watch the transition like slowly over time.
Really?
You could just see them like mutating. and slowly, and every year would just get worse and worse and worse. And like,
Huh.
just when I think like Bill Maher can't get any farther off the deep end of this whole Stan Lee incident, I'm just like, what? What are you, nutbat? Like,
Yeah.
what is wrong with, like, what?
Right? Oh
Yeah.
yeah. That was the final straw for me. Really, anyone that came at Stan Lee after his death and attacked him, I basically don't have any respect for now, but
Well,
freaking Bill Maher took it to another level.
and
Yeah, he attacked Stan Lee, and then he also attacked basically all comic fans. Was like, oh, you're just a bunch of babies living in your mom's basement. Like, why would you just,
Yeah.
comics are for idiots? It's just like, what? What is
He's like, some of us grow up and read books that have words in them. I'm an intellectual. I like
right?
trees because they make oxygen, and you guys are stupid. It's like, fuck you, man. Really?
Yeah,
Seriously, fuck Bill Maher. Like, I don't swear often, but that guy is not like, no, 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 no.
he's
Just
he's
like,
so far gone. And it's
yeah.
funny because 20 years ago, being on the left, you would have like praised comics. You would have been like, oh, these are the kids that get bullied. These are the kids that are reading books and it's
yeah.
the whole way. It's like turned. And
Oh,
I was
Mm.
so shocked. I was like, wait a second. When did reading comics become an anti-left thing? Like, when did it become a thing to like look down on people and mock them?
He he sounded like someone who's very, very old, maybe, like remembering the 50s when they were really geared towards children or something. It's
Right.
just strange.
well, even then, like the way he came. This, and mind you, once again, this isn't the first time Bill Maher has said something overly retarded this year, and it probably won't be the last. Let's be honest. Bill Maher, there we go. Bill Maher went and made the comment earlier this year about how the only way to get rid of Trump is to uh, basically have a recession and this, that, and the other, and how who
Oh
cares if
yeah.
that hurts people. And I'm just like, that is not even remotely cool. Just because you live in your, insulated bubble where if something were to happen, you'd be protected, doesn't mean the rest of us are.
Yeah. The economy actually matters to some of us.
Right.
Like, and the sad thing is like back in the day, prime example, Religulous. Religulous was a great movie, and it was a nice, nuanced look at religion and
What?
how. Oh, Religulous. It was a show.
Religious? I don't know
Religious.
if I would call that a nuanced look at religion as much as a full-on smear. If you are religious, you're an idiot.
No, he had a lot of nuance in there. He also pointed out when people were being stupid, like the one dude that was talking about how that was a former singer and everything, and now he's a pastor. And it's like, and he was lying and things like that. And then the dude was talking about how the young man that was infatuated with the lady that, and how he could, you know what I mean? How if he put that effort, that all that energy into God, the type of person he'd be, then it's like he made fun of that guy and pointed out where he's lying. I was like, yeah, okay, I that's funny, but like he did point out things like it's a shame that we found how to destroy ourselves a million times over before we found a way to live with each other, and pointed out the problems with it. But he wasn't saying you're stupid for believing in God. He's just saying you're stupid
He
for taking it that
he
far.
he kind of was though.
Yeah, he pretty much
Like
would say that when he talked about his movie.
like the selective editing and stuff. Like when he went to the truck stop and found like the dumbest people he possibly could, like a country of 300 million people, and he's like, "Oh, there's this little church and like a truck stop in like Mississippi. Let me drag out some random people." Like the one guy said he used to be a Satanist too. Like it's probably not even really. They're not even really. I don't know. It was very clearly biased and very selectively edited. And I used to love that movie too, but I've watched it a few times and it seems, I don't know. It's certainly biased at the very
I
least.
It's a
I
smear. That movie is not intent to
And it's funny.
look
It's
at look
entertaining.
not it's not intended to take an objective look at religion. It's intended to go and mock religion and make it look stupid.
It
Um,
points out the most extreme elements of like Christianity and Islam in
yeah,
particular.
he's basically become like every Michael Moore documentary. It used to be, remember, Michael Moore used to make documentaries that were somewhat objective, and now all of his films, every single film is like a complete slanted hit piece, and it's called a documentary.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree that. I mean, it's why Michael Moore's latest movie flopped. It's because of the fact that it's pretty much it's him trying to get the working class to agree with him, but it's the fact that he's completely abandoned the working class. Like back in the day, he had the working class on his side because he pretty much was one of them until he, like when he did Fahrenheit 9/11 and things like that. Yeah, but now it's like, oh, you working class people who dare side with Trump because of the fact that you spent 8 years with the president that cared about the big urban cities, but didn't care about the, you know what I mean? That
Mhm.
didn't care about the rural areas and whatnot. It's like it's been
I just,
pointed.
I'm sorry, I just remembered I saw Michael Moore once in
Oh, I'm sorry.
2004. He did this whole, they called it a slacker uprising where he went to different campuses and colleges. I don't know if you remember this. And I was, I saw him at the U of A in Tucson. But yeah, he came and spoke and stuff. It was 2004, so he was basically campaigning for John Kerry. But it was real. I don't know. It was real interesting. I don't know. I just kind of remembered that. I was like, oh yeah, I actually saw Michael Moore once.
Right. I'm sorry. And later, Nerdette, have fun. Like you said, adulting.
Oh, he's taking off.
Uh, See you,
There
Nerdette.
goes like a third of our viewers are gone now.
Well, we totally
Rip, rip.
derailed it.
Oh yeah, but at the same time, all I gotta say is, dude, if you ever get come on one of my meeting of the minds, that's pretty much you're experiencing the meeting of the minds treatment, which is we start out on one subject, but get to everything up to including politics, news, culture, things like that.
Well, that's totally fine. It's just can sometimes if your audience, your title is, "Hey, we're talking about this," and they come devote their time like, "I want to hear about that," and you don't do it. You're kind of,
Oh yeah, no,
yeah.
blame me.
I like the model of
It's all
live
good.
streaming where you spend like the first X amount of time, like say the first 45 minutes of the first hour on topic, and then afterwards you say, okay, we're done with that topic. We're just going to now banter and whatever's on our minds afterwards.
Yeah.
That way people who tune in can get the subject they want. If they want to watch the replay, they're going to get it. They don't have to sort through 3 hours worth of nonsense to hear.
Yeah. It'll be all right.
It will be. I don't know.
In general, I think
I'm
you're right.
very anal retentive, so
Like I think we did a fairly good job. We, for the most part, would manage to stay
Yeah.
on topic. Like for the most part, like we went on our tangents. We've had our. I think I'll admit, if you have me in there, I'm easily sidetracked by news, politics, and culture. Like that's why I
It's
said
all good.
blame me.
There's no blame necessary. It's all good.
Mm,
Midnight Cherry says, "Hey Ash, my subs are private, but I was 100 on you yesterday. Are you saying you were my 100th sub?"
Yeah, I saw you had like 107 now
Yeah, I
when I
top.
looked earlier.
Yeah, Weaponized Nerd Rage gave me a shout out, and I immediately got like 8 subs.
Oh, great.
awesome.
I'm glad he did that.
Yeah, that
I've
was
been
nice.
trying to promote you too. Like, I actually like your content, of course, which reminded me too. I wanted to ask you about your, because I didn't get a chance to watch it. What was it? Electric Heroes or something?
Electric Warriors.
Electric Warriors. Yeah. Isn't that a Steve Orlando?
Yeah, it's posted.
Well, I know you put, I know you posted it. I didn't get a chance to watch it, so
Oh,
I was just going
oh,
to see if you wanted to tell us about it a little.
Sure. Let me give you a reason not to watch my videos.
Well, I didn't mean it like that.
I know you didn't. I'm just playing. Um,
All right.
Electric Warriors is pretty cool. I got it because of Steve Orlando, who is has been doing the unexpected, and then
Hmm.
apparently he was also on Wonder Woman previously for a while, but I don't read Wonder Woman. And I really like the unexpected. I have my problems with the book; it's not perfect. Which, if you've watched any of my videos on, you'll get to know more. But what I like about the unexpected is how different it is. It's not something you can just step right into the book and be like, "Oh, I know I'm going to get. It's going to be like this and this." And
Yeah.
I talk about in my review that one of the things I like about there's two things you can like about comics, right? Like one good thing about comics is having that comic book that you really like a character you just followed. Like for you, DC, it would probably be like Superman. I think
Hmm.
it's one of my favorite characters. So when you pick up a non-Bendis Superman, it's like comfort food for you, right? It's like you know what you're
Hmm.
gonna get, it feels good, and it's what you're
Yeah, like if it's Dan Jurgens writing or something.
right. So I talk about that. But one of the other cool things that we kind of forget about sometimes as comic book fans is what it's like to just step into something new and unknown. And we often get that in the movies. You know, someone will come up with something interesting like The Matrix, and we're like, oh, blown away. The comics don't do that too much to us. Uh, or if they do, we're usually hesitant to step into something. Oh, I don't know about this. I like the characters I like. So I think it's a really cool thing when a comic book can step out, like come along, and you're like, I don't know what this book is, and then you
Yeah.
read it, and it's going in a certain direction, and you can't even tell. And and I talk about how in the unexpected they killed two of the members of the team, like in the first two issues. Um,
Right? The first freaking issue, they kill one.
yeah, and it's like they don't come back. It's issue six is
Mm-mm.
out, and they're still not around. I don't know what the deal is, and I'm like, my 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 instincts are telling me as I'm reading this book, I'm like, oh, they'll just be back the next issue, or they'll. But nope. And the book is, as its namesake, really unexpected. And I was really enjoying, even though it had flaws, I was getting something out of the book of like, I like this. I like that. I'm going to open this book and have no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
I decided, you know what? I don't know anything about this Electric Warriors. It's got a stupid name, but it's something completely different. It's not touching on any part of the DC universe that I have any knowledge of whatsoever. So I'm going to check it out because I like the unexpected, and let's see. And the first issue is better than the unexpected issue number one. Whereas
Oh.
unexpected issue number one and two, probably the first two issues together are like really convoluted and hard to get into. It takes time to like build up this storyline and go, oh, okay, I'm starting to see what you're doing here. This book takes right from the get go, and it feels like this is almost was originally conceived as like a book,
Mhm.
because it's not a superhero book per se. At least it doesn't seem that way so far, and it very much seems like a character driven story set within a sci-fi universe, and it very much seems like it shouldn't even be a comic book at all,
Hmm.
which threw me off at first as I was reading it, going, "Why am I reading this? Why shouldn't this should just be a novel? There's not a reason it should be a comic book." And then until I hit a couple parts, there's a scene in the book which I won't spoil for you. Not a major deal, but it was fun to see it happen and go, "Oh, that's so cool." Um, that
Um,
the DC
if
universe.
why do you say it's like a book? Is it just really heavy on the text and dialogue, or?
Oh, that's a good question. No, it's not actually heavy on the text and dialogue. The reason I say it's not like a book is because comic books are usually written very usually the way they should be are usually written very visually, right? And
Mhm.
if you take modern mainstream comics from like the big two, they're usually very heavily focused on the superhero myth. DC has its take of the superhero myth, which is very what's the term, aspiratory, or where
Yeah.
they're the heroes you look up to. And Marvel takes the myth of these are the heroes that are inside you that you could be. Um, so each of them have their own kind of take on it, but they both heavily focus on that myth, or at least they're supposed to. And they also do that in a very visual way. This obviously has visuals because it's illustrated like a comic book, but it's not necessary.
Hmm.
What you're getting out of the book when you're reading it is the concepts. And concepts don't need to necessarily be visual. They work really well in a written format. Just understanding, oh, okay, I understand what this world's about. I understand what these characters are about. This is a saga, between these two brothers are having this disagreement. You're into the drama of it more so than you are, hey, that's a cool 2-page spread. Or I really liked how the artist, did the
Mhm.
not you don't care. So it still works as a comic, which, because many storytelling mediums can cross over. But when I was reading it, I didn't especially feel like, oh, this is especially following the tropes of comic books. It's not. It's a sci-fi story that just happens to
Hmm.
be. In fact, it reminded me a lot, and I say this in my review. It reminded me a lot of an image book, where you see a lot of these image books nowadays, or all these like sci-fi stories.
Yeah.
Um, it
Hmm.
reminded me a lot of that, and I was like, DC, why are you doing this? Like, I, there's nothing
Yeah.
necessarily
See,
wrong with these
it
stories.
sounded good. It sounded good to me until you said it was like an image book. So
Well, the
I'm not
good image
sure.
books.
Huh.
There
Oh,
are
okay.
some good image sci-fi books. Um,
Anything's possible.
it is. Oblivion Song is really good.
No, I'm just throwing some shade at Image.
I know you are, and for good reason. Image has a lot of shit, but
Image, Image didn't used to be shit. That's
Yeah.
just sad. Like Image used to actually be pretty good.
well, yes, and now honestly, if you know where to look, they still are. They being creator owned makes Image kind of this weird anomaly where it's like you can have this really horrendous dog shit in one title next to something really cool and awesome because they're
Yeah.
not they're not homogenous the way like Marvel and DC are all corporate controlled and edited to fit within the look of the publishing line. Image is all over the spectrum. There's nothing tying their books together,
Hmm.
so you really get a wide variety um, of quality and style. And particularly, I've been really actually enjoying the Skybound. Anything under Skybound, which is a sub imprint that's Robert Kirkman's stuff.
Wait,
Oh, okay.
isn't that the one that Layman pretty much
No,
screwed?
I don't know if he's screwed. He's not a part of Skybound because thank God I won't go anywhere near anything Layman does.
Well,
Maybe that was Skyward.
it was the Image imprint that basically Nasser got a hold of, and he was all like, pretty much using the account to insult Nasser and everything, and well, be Layman. I will give Layman this though. I will give Layman this. When the SJWs were coming down on Stan Lee, he was one of the few that was like, "Man, shut your fucking mouth."
Really?
Yes,
Uh,
I
uh,
will give Layman this. He was like, "No, y'all need to show some respect." And so
Well, he gets points. He gets credit for that.
okay.
If he did that, that's a good thing.
like,
Well,
so
I
I
He's
mean, even like
he's
Mags
so
Asagio was saying good stuff for a little while. They go back and forth, it seems like.
yeah. I don't know. Some of them are so bad. I think Layman is
Yeah.
so much far worse than like even Mags Basagio. Like Layman is
Well,
one of the
she can
worst.
be cool sometimes. It's
Yeah,
weird.
no, get it right. And this shows you how much I hate Mags Passaggio. He can kiss my fucking ass, all up my ass, and I will not
All of it.
all of
wow. It sounds like you might actually like him.
no.
Oh, I forgot about that aspect.
Like
I was just thinking of the.
no, I call I call him I call him by his birth sex because quite frankly, I hate that motherfucker for all the shit he is stirred up. Like it would be different, like if if he wasn't constantly like, oh well, la da 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 da. No, this douchebag has stirred up shit at every like opportunity, needlessly, and instead of just admitting, all right, yeah, I'm just stirring up shit. I need to cool my jets and things like that. The motherfucker will double down on it. It's like, you know what? You can just kiss my white fucking ass. I don't want anything to do with you. I'm not going to support any book you're on. Right?
Mm,
And you can sit there and be like, transphobia. No, 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 it's not transphobic. I just don't like you.
I disavow. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, no, I'll use her pronouns, but I really don't agree with a lot of the statements Max puts out there. And she just had a story in DC. What was it in the that was a short story. They had a bunch. It was the Halloween one that came out. Had a bunch of short stories.
Mm,
I don't know. I don't read anthologies
Oh,
unless it came out on a Wednesday is the only one I get.
I think it was the Cattle Cave, that one.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. I think Nerdette did a review on it.
Yeah, yeah, and it had a Mags Visaggio story in there. I was real surprised.
Well, I
Superman
mean,
things.
Mags did do work for DC. You know, he got a
Yeah,
Vertigo comic.
yeah.
uh,
What was it called again?
oh, uh, you gotta remember, I don't read Marvel or DC anymore. It's all indies or Alterna, man. All indies are Alterna.
Alternative's good.
Alterna's got some good stuff. But when you talk about indies, you're talking about Image.
Okay. Image used to be indie. Used to be. Keyword there. All right, Image, like you can sit there and say, yeah, it's creator owned and this, that, and the other, but
It's
Image,
still indie.
nah. I'm talking things like Wanpool, Sporkman, Ferryman,
That's
Bird
fringe.
Throttle.
That's not indie. I mean,
Hush.
well, I mean, nothing wrong with Wanpool, and I need to get back on that dude. He told me he's like gonna get a comicsology version of his book out because I was like, you know what? I want to support you and get your book, but I either want a hard copy or I want a comicsology version. I don't want some weird digital this other place that I never used for anything. And he was like, yeah, cool. I'm gonna try to get a comicsology. And he would kept telling me he was on the way, on the way, on the way, on the way, and then never happened, and I lost contact with him.
He's still on Twitter.
Hmm?
Yeah, I just haven't. I was like, I got to the point where I was like, I wanted to stop bothering him. I was like, every
Well,
week I was DMing him, being like, "Yo, when's the Wanpool book coming out?" "Oh yeah, next week maybe."
hmm.
Okay, you know.
Well, it, and the sad thing is had Sporkman's IGG gotten funded, you would have gotten your physical copy of.
Well, if I would have funded Sporkman, which I didn't want to fund, so that's my problem. I don't these IGG, these
Oh,
crowdfunded comics are driving me nuts. Like I don't.
I definitely supported Sporkman though. I did the video for his IGG.
I have nothing against Sporkman. I want to be clear on that. It's not
Yeah.
nothing personal towards any of the creations. I just don't like the crowdfunding methodology of selling. It is not consumer friendly.
Well, the thing is it was like you could, or at least at one point you could. I'm not sure if you still can. I think he's actually out of all the physical copies of the Sporkman comics. I know he's completely out of Goes to Japan, but I mean, it was one of those. And I think it's because the company he was using to print Sporkman uh, either went out of business or something, or no, you can still get it off of Indie Planet. I think. Don't quote me on that, but that was where he was getting them. That's who was printing his comic. Like he was trying to get uh, the IGG going because he wanted to try to get it more effectively done. Like he felt like he could do better for the fans.
Sure. And I also want to be clear, I don't necessarily fault anyone for going on IGG. I believe that my way is not the highway.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to do it and you think that's the best thing for your project, by all means do it. All I'm saying is it wasn't for me, so
Yeah.
I didn't support it. But I didn't make videos about it and saying you shouldn't.
Oh, that's
I'm
cool.
I'm completely neutral on the idea of other people supporting it. It
Uh,
just, yeah, personally, it wasn't for me. The only, and we'll just, since we got this can of worms open, the only project I supported was Jawbreakers.
Hmm.
And the only reason I supported Jawbreakers was because originally, part of the project was not just the comic book or the graphic novel, whatever you're supposed to get, but the idea was to see the comic published as a floppy comic and put on bookshelves
Oh,
or
yeah.
comic shelves, which is something I, as a comic skate person, really wanted to see. Like, I'm a very big supporter of LCSs, and I think that they are a crux of the industry and they're, linchpin to the hobby. And I was like, please, I would love to see Jawbreakers in comic book stores, and if I can contribute $25 to help make that happen, and you're going to give me a comic as an incentive to help, to incentivize me to chip in, then I will go ahead and chip in. That was how I saw that. I saw that as an investment, as a donation towards a cause that I believed in. The comic book was secondary, as like, oh, here's a cool incentive you're going to get on top of that. Not as many other people look at it and go, I'm paying $25 for a comic book. This
yeah.
is why I did not buy chip in at all for Cyberfrog, nor did I donate or do anything for the other one.
Red Rooster?
No, no, Richard Meyer's other book that already
Oh,
came out.
Iron Sights.
Yeah, I did not buy Iron Sights because those books were just, here's a book I'm selling. Here's how much it costs. Give us money. And I said $25 plus shipping. No, thank you. That's not. But I was willing to pony up a little bit of money to help this idea of getting comics like Jawbreakers into stores and maybe having partnerships with Antarctic Press, which is why I am so mad at Mark Wade more than other people may be, because I have a dog in the fight.
Oh,
You know,
mm,
I Mark Wade didn't just do something wrong. He legitimately interfered with my aspirations and my intentions and my investment.
Yeah.
Uh, into this thing, and so I'm very emotional, I guess you would say, or very passionate on this subject matter. But I also you speak of Brightweiser's book, Red
Mm.
Rooster.
Mhm.
That looks fantastic.
Yeah.
It looked right up my alley. Looks like everything that I want. And I looked and I was like, $25 plus $10 shipping and handling for a comic book. No, I don't
Yeah.
care if it was, you know, Frank
penned by
Miller
God
writing a
himself.
book illustrated by Jim Lee. I'm not paying you $35 for a comic book. It, yeah, just, I don't know. It just, that annoys me, and it's like, I get that these guys want to make money, so go ahead and try to make it. But I'm not going to just give you money because you want to make it.
Oh,
If other people do, more power to you.
well, like I know the whole for like Sporkman, he was actually that's his ultimate goal is getting it into LCSs. So like that was the whole idea. I can tell you that for sure because these are all fans that want to see the industry thrive as well, and like they understand that the IGG model, like you said, is not sustainable, and it will eventually just cause more damage to the industry than help. And I also agree that a lot of us are also pissed off with Mark Wade for what he did, and he knows he did wrong. That's why he immediately nuked his Twitter account and this, that, and the other. And now that he's being sued, that like, I'm sorry, to everyone who donated to his little uh
Oh, yeah.
GoFundMe to help him out. Let's just be honest. that's all that money is going to just settle out of court.
Yep. Well, how funny is it that he found a lawyer with almost the same name as him?
That sounds about right. Let's just be honest.
Like Mark Zaid? Is this real life, honestly? Mark Zaid? Like, he go to Bizarro World and find his, like, counterpart?
Something like that. And then the go figure, Mark Zaid is about as egotistical as he is.
Yeah, and even more poorly informed, it seems like, from his tweets.
Uh,
I like how half of them undermine his own case. It's like, dude, this is your lawyer?
like, are you dumb?
Well,
Are you dumb, Mark Wade? If you have a lawyer that's doing, you know what? Just keep it up. Keep it up, Mark Wade. We'll take the easy win. I think Richard C. Morrow will be happy with that.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be an easy win. And this Mark Zaid character apparently does have a impressive resume. He's no slouch.
Hmm.
I think that this is just coincidence. The name thing is just coincidence. I also think my guess is that this Mark Zaid character is tied into Marvel in some respect, and when this all happened, probably someone at Marvel was like, "Here, let's refer you to some counsel," and it was like, why that this guy got involved, because this guy seems he seems too big, to be honest, for Mark Wade to just sod him out.
No, it's the name. He was like, oh, you have the same name as me. I gotta defend you.
Okay, maybe.
Free of charge.
Free of charge.
Us Mark Wade Zaid's got to stick together.
Well, honestly, the way I look at it, either way, somebody had to, like, the whole reason why he nuked his account once again is because somebody was like, you do realize he could take you to court for what you just did here. And so Mark Wade was like, wait, that's legit? Yeah, you just interfered, third party interference in a contract that you are not supposed to be involved in. You're not a member of so basically Rakuda Law did a real good video about it where he explained how, because of the fact that Wade was not a member of either the Antarctic Press or helped write the comic or had anything to do with the comic, he was a unwanted third party. And that's why the actual lawsuit could end up being not only an easy win for Richard, but also it could end up being a pricey loss for Wade because of the fact that it was something that he should have never been involved in. And then the defamation being the fact that he did point out as one of the reasons, like, it wasn't, how do I explain it? He was going out and saying on social media as a fact, and that's where defamation comes in. It has to be stated as fact. It can't be stated as, this is my opinion. No, he always presented it as fact out there on Twitter. Things that Richard Meyer has done, i.e. harassment and things of the such, which Richard Meyer never did. That's why the defamation will be able to go through, and that's also why he didn't tie the tortious interference with it, because as well, this way they couldn't say, well, there are two different claims, you can't have one with the other, and so on and so forth. It was actually meant to prevent that argument.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
I didn't know that there was any defamation case.
Yes,
on this.
two different points that or ground that he's suing Wade for.
Oh, interesting. Well, I don't know about the defamation. That might be harder. I don't know anything. But the tortious interference, from my lay person eyes, seems just like slam dunk.
I mean, really, like a textbook case.
I mean, he literally went online and announced he was going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't have made more evidence I don't understand what his thought process was. And why does he
Oh,
even care? Like
well,
Antarctic Press?
well, in
What?
his distorted mind, he's saving the world from a bully.
Oh yeah, true.
When, ironically enough, he's the actual bully.
Yes,
Hmm. Oh, villains always think they're in the right. That's part of what makes them so dangerous.
yes. Classic Lex Luthor, like, right?
Hmm.
He sees himself as the savior of humanity,
Oh, absolutely.
but in order to be so, he has to be the villain.
That is very true.
If you cared about saving humanity, you would have done it years ago. To quote Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they
And
can.
but
I was gonna say the problem with villains like that is even if their intentions are true, their selfishness is always comes first.
Yeah.
So the problem between a villain and a hero is selfless, or the villain is selfish. So a hero will sacrifice themselves to see right done.
Hmm.
The villain may say, "I want to see right done, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my selfish agenda to do it."
Yep.
So they'll try to squirm it in it. Um,
That sounds right to me.
yeah,
Speaking of heroes and villains, Blizzard right now is having also a sale, 50% off all of their stuff.
Oh, really?
eh,
That means Diablo 3.
Yeah, maybe.
uh,
Diablo 3 Battle Chest is 14.99, which comes
right.
with Diablo 3 and the Reaper of Souls expansion.
That's a
Yeah,
good deal.
but not the Necromancer
But
expansion.
not the Necromancer. He's normally 14.99, but he's now 7.49.
That's crazy.
Hey DC, Merry
Hmm.
Christmas. Get yourself that.
Yeah, right? Yeah, we'll see. I might have to.
Like, it's a Christmas present to yourself. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I
I'll,
just
I'll definitely play some more Diablo 3 with some people,
Oh, we can play Age of Empires 3 if nothing else.
Right?
or some Diablo, or some more. I can't speak correctly. Starcraft 2.
You know, I still need, like, I downloaded StarCraft 2, was playing it and everything. I just, I need to just go ahead and buy it because of the fact that this way I can play the everything and not be limited. Remember, it's,
You just have Wings of Liberty, probably.
yeah, like, I I don't know. I played some. It wasn't that bad. It was fun, but man, it felt like a less fun version of Supreme Commander to me.
Oh, man. Supreme Commander, though, is so much more complex, right?
Oh, dude. No, I have a Forged Alliance and two on my computer right now.
No,
Right.
those are on
Hmm.
sale right now on Steam.
I even
Those are
have.
just too much for me. Like, I can do StarCraft, but Supreme Commander's crazy because there's unlimited population and resources, and you're just like,
No,
oh my God.
you have a limit. You do have a limit. All right, but
Really? It's in the
yeah.
many thousands, if there is one.
Uh, Two, like unmodded, has a limit of 500, but with the mod I have, it's a limit of
Oh, really?
2,000. Yes, and
Okay.
oh my,
There's a limit. Your computer's eventually going to crash.
yes, and like we're talking my.
Yeah, it was just too much for me to manage.
Let me put you like this.
Like, I really like Supreme Commander. I
Oh,
wish I could play it well, but it's just too much.
no, what's funny is my buddy's computer. He has like 4 gig graphics card, like 16 gigs of RAM on his setup, and like all the bells and whistles. Like, no, his computer's no slouch. We were playing uh, a match that took like, all right, this is how long we started playing at like 7:30. We didn't finally get done until like 1, like mid 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Hmm.
All right, and the game, because of how big my army got, trying to take out the computer because the mod we got makes the computer harder.
Oh, it's already really hard.
Uh-huh. But oh god. The end game only showed like 3.5 hours when we were playing for like five and a half.
Huh.
Because the game started lagging, and like I said,
Oh,
he was the one hosting, and his computer's the badass one.
sounds painful.
Oh, dude, it was glorious.
Are you sold yet, DC?
No, I've definitely played Supreme Commander. It's just too much for me to manage. Like you have units, normally like in StarCraft or something, you have workers and you have soldiers and you have ships and stuff. But this is like you have soldiers that can build stuff and other guys that can help make it build faster, and you harvest matter and energy, and it's just so fast paced. And you've got your Supreme Commander that can do all kinds of crazy stuff and shields, and
Your
it's just like,
ACU.
oh my god, it's too much.
Oh, that's what makes the game so badass, dude. Like, real
Just give
talk.
me a red alert or something.
Got Red Alert 3 too.
Well, my favorite of all of those is StarCraft 2. And
I'm sticking with Brood War. That was
no,
the original, the
nope,
OG.
this is new G, and it's
The
better,
new G.
it's better G.
It's 5G.
It's 5G. You can get the entire StarCraft 2 campaign collection for $10 right now on Blizzard. All 3 editions.
Nice.
And the cool thing is, if you're into which it sounds like you are, I am too, playing like skirmishes, campaign, like playing against computers, teaming up, and so forth. They added a thing to the game called co-op mode,
Mm-hmm.
where you can play co-op games against the computer, and every week they have new game types and settings, and you get a commander that you level up, and they get new abilities.
Mhm.
And I haven't got to do it yet. I'm trying to get my buddy to play StarCraft 2. I was like, oh, this is so amazing. And you have to buy the commanders, but typically you're probably just going to buy one, pick your favorite, and then level them up. And yeah, it looks way awesome. And I love the fact that they have like every weekend they have a new, or every week they do a new goals and like different map types, and they call them mutations.
Or Blizzard's really good about stuff like that. I remember when I played Heroes of the Storm, they were always giving you weekly things and free characters and stuff. But probably going to have to wrap it up now. I got something that's just come up, but
Uh-oh.
I really appreciate you guys being here for almost 3 hours. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, definitely, dude. You know I'm always down to do the live streaming with you.
Yeah, and we finally got Ash on, so it's a good
Yeah,
day.
I appreciate it. I really like doing the live streams, but my life right now is such that evenings uh, and weekends tend to be bad, which is usually the best time for most people.
Yep.
So,
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I have no life, so.
oh, okay. Well,
On
all
that
right.
note. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It was awesome. It was fun. And these two gents, as I said, I've got links for their channels in the description box. Definitely check them out and subscribe. They're awesome guys. And as always, thank you for watching and being a part of DC Fans United.